That's it. I always think sometimes like little blue bar's not going to come on. Good evening, everybody. Today is Tuesday, the 13th of November, 2018. On the panel is our Patricia. We have Roxanne, Glen. We have Zack, who's good time for all. And we have Adam so far, who's part of Iron Realm Media. And I think Josh from Iron Realm Media are joining as well. So good evening, everybody.
Hi.
Good evening, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Hey.
Hey, we'll sort that out first. Zack is a member of Iron Realm Media as well. We asked him if he'd contribute his significant knowledge to us. How long ago now, Zack? A while ago, weren't it? But yeah, so for a while, Zack's been proud to say a member of us, guys.
I'd say. Yeah, 6-7 months now. Yeah, it's been awesome.
Wow. Nice.
It's just more of us old men rambling, which is always good.
Do you want to explain what you're talking about, Iron Realm Media?
Well, all sorts of stuff, really, Karen. But I thought when I first met Roxanne in that car park in Arnold, that car park in Arnold, yeah. Jason lying on the pair of legs sticking out of a van and the likes of Jason's, and I pulled up, and after chatting for a little bit, I showed her some of these little mathy presentations that I'd done, and I said today on Nathan's, it's the best response to them I've ever had. Normally the guys fall asleep, and you could tell Walt would just want us off, go for some food. So I said to her, I'd wanted to share and do a presentation when she was there. So you've kindly organised this for us, Karen, really, haven't you? And managed to orchestrate this evening for us to do so. So yeah, I thought I'd do a presentation, and the one I thought was fairly current at the moment, or always for most flat earthers, especially when you're talking with ballers, is in relation to the spin of the earth, and obviously it's to do with comparing the centrifugal forces of the ball earth and comparing that against a carousel, a roundabout, as we'd call it. So it's the purpose of it is to kind of dispel the myths. So one side of the argument's one thing, one side's the other, and it's literally just to put the maths there and state it factually.
Are you going to present that first then, or do you want to do a bit of talking first? What do you want to do, Adam?
Don't know, I went on a bit there already, haven't I? So
No.
I'm cool, mate. I'm cool, absolutely cool. Whenever you want, tell me and I'll get it ready. But sure, show.
Yeah, I posted that bit where you met Roxanne in London, by the way.
Oh, when I was walking in, yeah, that was cool. That was cool. That's a welcome.
Yeah. Now, you know what? It means a lot, though, when people are prepared to travel miles to make a pilgrimage to just go and show out and be there in person. And, you know, with the likes of yourself and other people that have travelled from out of London, I was just overwhelmed by everybody showing up in person. And I massively appreciated that. And, yeah, you kind of brought me to a standstill in that car park in Arnold. I took a look at that flat porn on your phone, and that was it. That was the beginning of a new era as far as I was concerned. So I was just incredibly impressed to see the fact that you'd slowed down enough to get it to that point. I've showed that to my daughter. I showed that to a couple of people, and they more or less had the same reaction I did, because you know it's nice when someone can break it down. It's not necessarily in a terminology I can necessarily understand 100%, but I was able to give it to someone who could, that then broke it down to me like CBeebies, which was a family member of mine, which was useful, because sometimes when you're trying to convey what's actually going on in words, it doesn't quite come out right. So I used to be like a big fan of programs like How It's Made. Like I'm a bit of an anorak on things like that. So it just my eyes started dancing all over the place. So yeah, I'm gonna have to hold my hand up to that one. Flat porn.
Yeah. And it was a good, did you feel that you left that school in a different place as well? Because you met there as well, didn't you?
Yeah. I really feel like it was a good place to hold an event like that, because those are the centres that are indoctrinating people into the heliocentric model, and it is a model.
You left your vibes there, did you?
Yeah, I think we did. I think, especially Adam knows what a far arse it was to get the PA working and everything. So, and then right down to us getting locked. Well, we thought we were locked in at the end, but we weren't quite locked in. So we definitely caused a scene with the people that work there. So yeah, I doubt we've gone from their memories yet. I highly doubt that.
I hope they looked a little bit at the content as well as the hassle we caused.
Yeah, well, that was the thing, right? They had to kind of chaperone the event, so they were kind of forced to watch and listen. And we all know that once the eyes have seen and the ears have heard certain things, you can't go back. So I'm assuming we've left the guys that were working there with a few things to think about as well.
Yeah.
That was.
Yeah, it's really amazing. All amazing.
I'll tell you what was nice was the atmosphere.
Yeah,
The atmosphere.
I'd agree.
When you walked in, it was just wandering up to folks and just chatting to people, and there's just a nice, relaxed, open atmosphere, and it was lovely. You could feel the love in the room. It was great.
Yeah, you definitely can. And I think maybe that is a bit of an ethos for some of the meetups that are going on, that it is about, a bit of love and humility and inclusion. And it was a nice vibe to be around for a couple of hours. Definitely was. And there's another meetup coming up in London on the 29th of November in Greenwich, in an amazing pub over in Greenwich.
Cosmic Cat.
Yeah, Cosmic Cat is going to be hosting it with Trinity 4. And it's going to be an amazing evening. Karen, I think I sent you a link for the promo.
Yeah, I'm going to mirror it later for Cosmic Cat as well.
Awesome. Yeah, come one, come all. If you want some truth talks, that is the place for you to be, 29th of November. Be there or be not square. I don't know. But be there.
Z Proxy in the chat room says, once you get your headset, Stan will be there.
Lovely. Headset is coming. It's on my list. My
As
partner's
we're
got a right
promoting. Sorry. Oh, as we're promoting, Adam, do you want to do that bit you were telling me about?
Oh yeah. Well, if we're doing as you know, Zack, my good friend Zack, there is going the nomad life, and he's working his way around America. You're on the way to the conference now, aren't you, Zack? But as part of that, he's been making, as they've been called, Hank's homemade hemp hats, which he crochets himself. He does them in wool as well. I've got a few for Christmas presents, but also it's been noticing well, I'll leave it up to you, Zack. Maybe you could just mention what you're wanting to do with these hats and see if people would contribute to.
Well, as I've been out here traveling around and going to a lot of these free campsites where you can stay for a couple weeks at a time with no charge, I've run into a lot of not just nomads, but just homeless people that are, don't have anything really. And I've been giving away a lot of my clothes and stuff like that. And it's starting to get cold out here in the desert. It'll hit 70 during the days and it's nice. But at night, like last night, it dropped just below 40 degrees, which is only a couple degrees above freezing here. Since I'm talking Celsius, not Fahrenheit. Or Fahrenheit, not Celsius, excuse me. So it's getting chilly, and I wanted to just give away the hats instead of trying to sell them here on the internet to people and sell them to business owners and stuff like that. I wanted to just give them away. So I cut the price down to $10. If you donate $10, I will go find a homeless person or a nomad that is in need. Somebody who's they're getting by, but they need a little bit of help. and I'm just giving them a hat. I actually got to give away 3 today. Constance Bruns from here on YouTube donated $30, and I was trying to upload the video. I recorded myself handing them out to them and just talking to the people a little bit.
Does each hat come with a little flat smack?
See, I did. I mentioned to the one guy, he was a little bit younger, and I'm going to be going actually back to help his parents change a tire on one of their vehicles. He was only maybe 15 or 16, but and his parents were both definitely out of shape and couldn't do a lot of things, didn't have the proper equipment and the tools. So I told them after I get done with my interview, or maybe after I get back from Denver, they're not really in a hurry, but I'm going to go back and change their tire and help them move their vehicle a little bit. So I'll flat smack them eventually. But the other 2 gentlemen that I didn't get the flat smack on video. I just pretty much told them that, yeah, I'm going to be leaving here for a convention in Denver. And the coolest part was they know a lady who is a flat earther who is also going to the convention. And she goes nuts, and I guess she flat smacks people to where it gets annoying. That's what they were saying. She kind of tries to push it upon people, and I never try to do that. I try to just, put a marble in the can and let it work itself out. But I'm definitely going to be going back and talking to these guys here. Either when I get back from the conference, there's a place I'm at right now. I don't want to give out the location because a lot of people don't know about it, and people can stay here for months at a time instead of just the 2 weeks. So I'm thinking I might even find a job out here somewhere, sell my soul, just a little bit of it, to corporate America, find a job if the hats and all that don't, pan out to be enough. I was thinking about dropping a hat somewhere and playing my guitar and singing, but there's not a whole lot of walking traffic around these places. I might have to go into California for that. But I'm doing okay right now. But yeah, just giving away stuff for free. You should see the look. Well, you'll be able to see it if you check out. It'll be my newest video coming up here. As soon as I get back to the campsite, I'll upload it. But it's a wonderful feeling just to hand something to somebody. And then I tell them, I have a lot of great YouTube subscribers that are helping me out along the way, and they're giving me money, donations, so I can just give these out to people. And the look on their face, the one guy kept saying, well, what do you want to trade? And it's like, no, sir. I just want to give your son a hat for free. I don't want to trade anything. I'm not asking for any type of money. It's like, well, we don't have any money. It's like, that's okay. No worries. This is from the goodness of other people's hearts and mine together. And it's...
Thank you, Zack, for doing that. There isn't a lot of that around.
No, massive respect for that. That's massive. Massive, massive, massive.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, I don't know. I had sorry, I'm getting kind of emotional. Like this wave just kind of crashed over me last night and said, quit trying to sell them. You see all those people out here that need them, just go give it to them. So that's, if I can start making money with my guitar, I've been told I'm all right, and I wouldn't mind doing that, even though I said I'd never be an entertainer. But if I can do that, then I'll just make hats during the day and I'll give them out for free. That would be great. That would make my day. But until then, yeah, it's just $10. And I gave Constance a big shout out. I let everybody who I gave a hat to, the 3 people, know her YouTube channel name. And they all said thank you to Constance and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, it's a way for other people to help me help people, There's
a lot of people that need help around you then, yeah?
Yeah, there's out here a lot of homeless people come out here to the desert in the wintertime, because this is where it stays somewhat warm and usually doesn't drop below 30 too often, which is 0 degrees. It very rarely drops below freezing, but it does get only a couple of degrees above that. So it gets cold at night, and I just want to help people stay warm.
We had someone else who came on talking like that. His name was Fadi, and he lives in Gaza. maybe there's no difference when the people are poor. It's all the same, isn't it?
Mm.
Yeah, it really is. There's a lot of homeless shelters out here too, in some of the bigger cities, and I'm going to be heading there next. And I'd like to just donate some of my time. Oh,
wherever
Bubba,
wherever you are on the plane, I think. What was the gent's name in? Did you say Fadzi? Did you say Karen?
Faddy.
Faddy.
He's 18 years of age, and he does the same thing. He asks for donations, which is on our channel, and then he takes basic things like sugar, tea, coffee, blankets. He tries to do what do you call it? Oh my goodness, what do you call them? All those things when they take their sun and heats up, makes everything warm, and that. Solar panels. He does solar panels, batteries, just basic things these people can't get to try and keep them warm and keep them with food. He's 18 years of age, and he's been doing it for about the last 2 or 3 years.
Wow, that's amazing. That's
I
one
was
of my
gonna say, I
heroes
think
right there.
Well, so you, Zack. I was going to say, I think it's amazing when anybody commits their own time to helping others. And as far as your cause goes, mate, I'd sooner stick another tenner in that than trying to save a snow leopard. So good luck to you, mate, on it. And I know the love you're doing it with as well. So if anyone's out there and wants to help Zack spread the love, please give him a hand.
Yeah, all credit and much to other people, because not many seem to do that anymore. So thank you very much for that.
Ezekiel and his father right now pulling up. I'll show you. In this, they're living 3 people in this little Astro van right there that Hank's looking at. Yeah, I just felt bad for him. But they were really nice people, just really good, down to earth. Everything was thank you, you know, offered me a water, this and that. I mean, people who need help, and I don't know, it was weird. It was just like it called to me and said, hey, go help if you can. So I'm gonna, that's my new goal.
Don't really talk much about these people, do they? I mean, it can happen to anybody.
Yeah.
I tell you what's shocking, isn't it? You're in the United States, supposedly the richest country in the world, and you're describing a third world problem there, mate, of real poverty. It's an indictment, isn't it, as to wow, it's a great exemplar of the bullshit and how well they have us locked in to this system. But
oh yeah, I mean, we throw away enough food every year, probably in this country alone, to feed the whole world, because it's not sold in time. Instead of there being a sell-by date, there should be a giveaway-by date, in my opinion.
You just go back to the 80s, Zack, right? Where if you sniffed it and it smelled all right, you could eat it. That's how things worked back then. It was really...
Yeah.
Give it a sniff. Does it smell all right? You can eat it. It's fine. That seems...
My kids, though, once they see that sell-by date coming, they don't want it. All my kids are like that, but we grew up. I mean, goodness knows how long they used to keep things before.
Well, the thing about a sell-by, if I want to get geeky, the thing about a sell-by date, it's the same as any expiry date. It's a certainty statement. So to allow a certainty statement, you have to have an acceptable margin of error. So in most cases, any expiry date is well below the actual date that it is either edible or usable by, because to give it you can use it up to this date, it has to be at least useful for an extended period after that to give any certainty to that date. So I say the best way, have a sniff. I've opened some sour cream tonight and I throw the lid away with a date on. I don't need that. I'm not stupid. I know the earth's flat. I can certainly tell whether or not bloody cream's gone funny.
They want people complaining and asking for money, though, do they?
No, but it's another thing that feeds the consumption of the system, isn't it? If you put expiry dates, if you build product to expire, it feeds the need of the system, that doesn't it? It's again part of the. I'm getting a bit political, but it's part of the mechanism, isn't it, by which they control us? It's part of the way of to consume your money quicker, to take more control of your time.
Yeah, because we don't realise the system that we're in the first place. Well, most people don't. The horrible system.
Getting a bit silly, but if you think about how much milk you throw away, if you check that date, add up the volume of that milk, and it may be only come to £3, but how much is £3 of your time? That's that much time. That's minimum wage. It's another half an hour of your day that they've taken away from you a year, that you have to work just for that bit of milk that you throw away. It's part of the system. It's part of how they control you.
It's always harder for the ones that are here. Like, we're getting older now, and I'm starting to, I don't hate saying this, but in my day, we used to listen to that from our parents. And now we're sort of saying the same thing because everything is just going up and up so much, but our wages don't go up and they don't match what's happening.
No, the system's designed now. When they implemented the welfare state, part of that was firstly to bring, the main purpose of that was to control outside of a man's daily earnings, so that they could disassociate daily earnings from a living wage. That was the real underlying reason. It gave the state, it's done as a beneficial thing for the population, but actually it gives the state an ultimate power and control to be able to flex the population in and out of poverty. If your wage isn't sufficient to sustain you, you need benefits, even if you're working a 40-hour week, to have a living wage that the state says, yet the state is in control of that small proportion that takes you in and out of poverty. It gives them amazing control over the populace. It can take them from joy in the 80s to relative poverty like we're feeling now, and the state has full control of that.
Yeah, and even trying to swap a council house, get a council, all these kind of things is absolutely horrible.
If there is a Keith Ashford in chat or listening, thank you, friend. Thank you so much. I'll be making a video with your name in it tomorrow.
Yay.
Who was that?
Cool.
Zack, give him another shout out.
Yeah, and Ezekiel's wearing his hat right now. That just warmed my heart. That's just so cool.
Sorry, my daughter's come back if there's any noise going on in the background. Sorry, she wasn't here when I started. Thanks, Zack. Do you want to do your presentation then?
I was just going to say, Carol, shall we, before it gets too much like question time or something, shall I?
I'll put it on Zack's nice picture just in case, and then
Yeah,
I just say
do that whilst I faff about and make sure I don't.
everybody can look at a lake for a minute.
Give me one sec.
Yeah, that picture that I used for my
That's wrong.
avatar is from northern Minnesota. It's called the Boundary Waters, where no motorboats are allowed. I'm probably 4 miles from any motorboat right there where we were staying. You can go and drink the water right out of the middle of the rivers.
Wow.
Yeah, if they didn't get 400 inches of snow a year, I would live there for sure. But I can't even do 100 inches of snow. That got too much for me. I had to move.
Is it just you and your dog then, Zack, or you with someone?
Yep. Nope. Me and my dog. I'm kind of caravanning with a. He's a disabled veteran that I met in Capitan, New Mexico, and he's kind of the one because I was just planning on moving to New Mexico, and finding a job there. I was hopefully going to work for a rancher or something like that, and he told me about all these people out here that come out to the desert, the nomads, and because I flat smacked him in like 10 minutes. And he was just like, "Oh my God, I can't believe it." The thing is, a lot of these nomads don't want to be on video. They don't want to be recorded at all. It's weird. And then Tina, she was a lady who I had flat smacked, and she didn't want to be on video either. She kept saying, "Oh yeah, we'll do it. We can do an interview and this and that." And then when it came time, I'd ask again. I don't want to push it on them too much, but they just, I don't know what it is. They don't want to be on video at all. But he's the one who talked me into coming out here and flat smacking more people, these types of people, the nomads and stuff. And the ones that I had given 2 of the hats to down the way, they were kind of in the same traveling group. I'm going to turn them into flat earthers. I already know it because they know a flat earther and she's coming out here, and she might not have the arsenal, but I know I do. I've got all the facts and the data, and if they're not going to be flat earthers, they will at least be globalist deniers.
Hey, that sounds good.
Yeah, because I'm not. I'll say it flat out. I'm not a flat earther. I've bent water myself. Still water. I've bent it using electricity. So the creator could do the same. But I know it's not a spinning ball floating through nothing.
I'm with you on that, Zach. That was a statement.
Not quite evidence yet from above, have we, about what shape we are yet?
No, I think as scientifically, certainly it was one of the first things me and John discussed, that scientifically it's almost impossible to make affirmative statements, as in to give exactness to things. You can make cause and effect statements with science, really, but to be able to state the shape is almost an impossibility. What science enables you to do is make statements to say it is scientifically provable, it's not this, or it's demonstrable, it's not this. Scientific's probably the wrong word, but it's demonstrable to say that it's not of this size. It's like when we're doing distance observations, when we can see things further, we can clearly make the statement that the observation is not conforming to that level of curvature. It doesn't mean that actually it couldn't be a ball the size of the sun, where we wouldn't be able to necessarily detect the supposed curvature that would be there. But we can clearly be globalist deniers through observation and Do you know what I mean? It's but to come out and make the statement it is 100% flat is and scientifically provable is hard. But what we can say is it is observably and demonstrably flat. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm even that way inclined myself as well. I've been out on the road, I don't really like to claim that it's flat, because I feel like if I'm claiming it's flat, then the burden of proof is on me to prove that. Whereas if I'm just out there and I'm questioning what I've been taught, because I know that I'm not living on what I was taught on, the burden of proof is on the heliocentric model holders, not me.
I think I'd go a bit further. I'd be a bit more committal. I'd say, like I said, I'd say it's observably and demonstrably flat. We can demonstrate its flatness. What we can't do is prove scientifically its flatness. And
Okay.
and I think that's the trap that the ballers are in. They for 30, 40 years have been shouting, but science proves it, and we're now showing that science doesn't prove it.
Correct.
So it would be foolish of us to start making the same unprovable statements. And I think if we're honest, and that's the best weapon we have, I think, is our honesty. Then we don't need to shout it is flat. We can make it as a headline, but if we're going to engage in proper, you can, like you say, research flat Earth. It's a perfectly reasonable thing to use as a headline for me. But if we're going to have civilized discussion with somebody, not necessarily arguments, I think that's a reasonable point to concede and to open them up to a more critical level of thinking and to try and make them look at it with an open mind. If you're, as you say, Roxanne, not, and as you were saying, Zack, people that make definitive statements, it's easy to knock down.
Yeah, that's why I like the statement, "You've been lied to," because it's clearly evident we've been lied to. We've definitely been lied to on multiple levels. But I like where you're going with that. If we can't, yes, I don't think, I haven't had a conversation yet where someone has been able to, unequivocally prove that we live on a flat plane of existence and tell us how far that flat plane goes and what's beyond that and what's beyond that. So I'm with you 100% on that one.
Oh, no, there's nothing wrong with saying I don't know either.
No,
that seems
right. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. Nothing wrong with saying that.
Yeah, we've been kept in the hidden for so long. Yeah, you're sort of left with that kind of statement, aren't you? Because it's something like the size of NASA needs to help us, and look what they're doing, pretending we go to space and we're going to Mars and the moon. And
I'd rather say I don't know a lot than start spouting off beliefs.
I've been waiting for the flat Earth to come around since I was, I don't know, 13, 14. I mean, I wrote my senior thesis paper on the theory that JFK was not killed by Oswald alone. So I've had my questions about the government and this and that for a very long time. Okay, Bubba, settle down. And this is something that they can't hide from us. I've been waiting for. I mean, there was 9/11 and there was all these different, people call them conspiracy theories, but they were able to sweep them underneath the rug to where we can't go and investigate. Well, this is something that they cannot hide from us. They can't hide the ground underneath our feet and the water that we can go and look at, in oceans and lakes. And this is something that they can try to make us look foolish all they want. But in the end, we know it's the truth. So it's going to will itself out there eventually. And I've been waiting for this is the only reason I made a YouTube channel, was Flat Earth. I've been on YouTube since 2011, I think, something like that. And I made my first video in 2015. Okay, Bubba. Sorry, there's dogs being walked. I'm gonna shut up and let him.
Shall I start the presentation then? If Hank's not happy, yeah. I think what we were just saying about is this presentation lends to that statement. Look, I don't want to make definitive statements about X, Y, and Z, and I think I'll start the slideshow because it's the arguments really that you hear from both sides are, as I'll hopefully show you, unfounded, and a lot of the times we can think we've got the argument because it makes bloody good sense. Like I say, if I'm spinning at 1,000 miles an hour on a huge carousel, surely I'd come off. But that same level of logic to the thinking of the ballers is they'll say, yeah, but it's applicably, it's so small you wouldn't feel it. And that's kind of the aim of this presentation, is to give people the facts. So we're not, when we're able to. So what I kind of, and I suppose you guys can all think of a million different arguments that you've heard in terms of the rotation and carousels at roundabouts, etc. So what I thought I'd do is bother to look at the maths for it, and in that, this is basically the formula for centrifugal force that you see there in blue. So it's equal to the mass of the object that's being exposed to the force. So that U, for example, on the carousel, and that's multiplied by the velocity squared, and then divided by the radius of the circle in which you are traveling. And that's how that force is calculated. And that's the force that everybody's discussing. So I've made, the first assumption I've made here is in green, and that's for both of these calculations, we're going to assume that the mass of the person is 50 kilograms. I'll bore you a little bit with the maths, but I won't go into too much detail. But obviously, we know the radius of the ball Earth, and we know the rate at which it turns, which is once a day. So from that, we can calculate its speed. And the reason it doesn't look so familiar is for the calculation purpose, I'm keeping the units the same. So I've had to express it in meters per second. But that's what it translates to. Now for the carousel, I did a little bit of Google searching and found out that the average size one is 5.4 meters, and that its turn. I've got the figures somewhere if anybody. In fact, go to the Iron Realm Media first time I did this, and I'll bore you with all the maths if you want to know. But I had to calculate that, and that turned out to be rotating at a velocity of 2.4 meters per second. So I've now got all the crude data that I need to plug into the formula. Quick slurp of wine, excuse me. If I do that and stick all the numbers in, you can see here we've got the weight of the person, 50 kilograms, and that's multiplied by the speed at which the carousel's turning, squared, and divided by the radius of the carousel. And if you do the maths on that, it works out that for that person, a force of equivalent to 54.98 or 55 newtons is being applied to that person in a outwards direction, perpendicular to that. So that would probably feel like a 55 kilogram person leaning on that person. That's the full force applied to the full mass. So it's probably equivalent to like a bit like when you're on the waltzers and you sat next to somebody and that you feel them pushing into you. So you do well. It's exactly like being on a carousel and the way you feel you're being pushed out. But that's the kind of equivalent force in terms of layman's terms. You feel like an equivalent weighted person leaning on you. If we do the same, obviously much bigger numbers with the ball Earth, obviously the weight of the person is still the same. And this is assuming the person is stood on the equator. So the biggest circumference of rotation. And we take that and multiply it by 460 squared, divide by the circumference. And that gives us a very, very, very small number, which is what the ballers have been talking about. Oh, you wouldn't feel it. But this is actually a number, look. It's there. It's real. Well, it's not. It's maths. It's not real, but, you know, it is a number which is measurable. And it's actually not a minute number. It's 1.596 newtons. Now, the argument you may get with that is that, well, that's 35 times smaller. And I agree. But I do think it's still a force. And force meters or scales can certainly be more accurate than that. Significantly more accurate to 5 or 6 more decimal points. So could we measure or experience the force? I would say yes. There's sufficient technology out there to be able to measure that force. And as I said, it'll be argued. It's the next point that they'll say is actually what we have here is this force is like on the roundabout. It's applied pushing you outwards. On the equator, this force is in direct opposition to the force of gravity. So you see what you should technically see is a net reduction of gravity at the equator due to the opposition of the centrifugal force. Now, comparatively, to be factually correct, it is only 0.33%, so 1/3%. So it is, again, this time a very, very, very small amount. But once again, it is measurable and so should be observable. It isn't. So that kind of compares the two forces. But what I wanted to think about would be, okay, so we know that on the carousel, it's 35 times smaller, that force. So what I wanted to do was kind of, well, what speed would I have to be on the carousel for me to feel that 1.5 Newton force that you would feel on the equator? So what I did a little bit of back working. So taking the assumption that I wanted an outcome force of 1.596 Newtons, the weight of the person's the same, the size of the carousel's the same. So working that backwards, it actually gives you a velocity that the carousel would have to be turning at of 0.4 meters per second, or 40 centimeters per second. And so for me, if I was laying down with my head facing to the edge of the carousel and the carousel was turning at that speed and I was blindfolded, the question is, would I be aware I was moving? Would I be aware of that force being applied to me? For me, I think yes. So I'll sum up with just obviously doing this, I did a little bit of Google searching. So just a number of facts, and they relate to this. So the first thing is the centrifugal force depends on the radius of rotation. As I said, it's at its biggest, the circumference, at the equator. But obviously, as you travel north or south, that shrinks. So it's obviously different on the 45th circle of latitude. In fact, it's slightly different on every single latitude, obviously. The size of the circumference is different. Gravity is identical on the poles when no centrifugal force occurs, and the centrifugal force directs exactly opposite to the force of the equator at the gravity, to the force of gravity at the equator. But that's not to say that's true anywhere else. Some of the other important things is true gravity is thus not the same, because the oppositional force is both reduced and applied in a slightly different direction to gravity. So that difference should be measurable. And on that, standard gravity was accepted by the Third General Conference on Weights and Measures in 1901 as 9.80665 meters per second. It's accepted as a constant, but in actuality, it corresponds to the value of acceleration on free fall on the 45th circle of parallel. So it doesn't even correspond to it at the equator, which lends to the myth of gold weighing different at different places on the earth. So basically, with that in mind, I said I line this up as a fight between the carousel and the ball earth. And I'm going to have to state that it's a technical knockout, and carousel wins by debunking gravity as an actual constant, as in the actual number that the ballers state as fact It isn't. It is an approximation based on one particular point, which is contradictory to their model and therefore not a constant. Cheers, guys.
Wow.
Ooh. Thank you, Adam.
Patricia, do you want to stop screen sharing me and I'll clear me?
Can you do it? I don't know. You have to do it. Just come out of it. Just click it off. Has he done it?
I might have shared something for a second. I don't know. Let me drag it over there and then I can stop.
Hang on, I'm sharing you. You come up on the thing. I don't know. I don't know if the link went out then.
We're not sharing now, so.
I didn't see a link. I'm just looking back at it now. Doesn't look like there seems to be one, but I could be wrong. So just double check.
Yeah, I'll just quickly check. Sorry, I just didn't. It could have to. Suddenly there was the link. So how long did that take you to put together, Adam?
That's what, yeah, good question. That's what I wanted to ask. How long did that take to put together, man?
I don't know. A while. A lot of the time's thinking, innit? Like I say to my wife, whenever she's asking me to do jobs, thinking time's the most important in a lot of it. But like, yeah, getting the idea to work out and what to compare is probably the bit. But I don't know, probably about 10 hours, I'd say, something like that. Just because you got to make it look pretty. I had to find that cute little globe. Do you know what I mean? And stuff. So
see, that's where I fall short. I never make anything look pretty. I just go and draw stick figures and do it on a piece of paper with the markers. Adam, you are definitely a showman. I just don't have that.
I think it's born out of university. It's that kind of crap that sadly, not the content, gets you extra marks, and it really is done just so to keep people's attention. But you know, it makes it a bit more interesting. But it's kind of the stuff I had to do for work and uni and stuff, mate. Whenever you, not necessarily so critical of the system, previous stuff, but it's enjoyable, I think, really more than out, because we all have these ideas and thoughts, and sometimes it's good to just get them down, and it does clarify it and hopefully help other people as well. You know, give a fuller understanding.
It's better to see the figures, isn't it? It's better to see it because everybody's going, oh, well, you know that thing, you know, whatever, and then when you see it is a figure, it's different.
And that is so true. That's how I actually do a lot of my research. I will hear a certain phrase or a word, and then I'll go into Google and I'll put the word in, and then I go right to images. That's the first thing I look up is images, because when I see how something works, it's so much easier for me to comprehend than trying to have somebody explain it to me.
I can't remember exactly if I don't.
Looking at. Yeah, once I know what I'm supposed to be looking at or how it's supposed to work, then I'll go and read up on it and learn all the ins and outs and the phrases and all that kind of nonsense. But really, as long as you can understand it, it doesn't matter what you call this stuff. I try telling people, if you really understand something, you could explain it so a child would be able to know what you're talking about.
That's exactly what I say to my students, mate. You know, when we're talking to patients and they come fresh from university, holding their degrees with great pride and that, and you ask them to explain something, and they'll, you know, a full diatribe of what was fantastic when you were writing in your exam for a medical paper. You know what I mean? But that doesn't mean you understand it, and it certainly doesn't mean you can make your patient understand it. And I think the key to any real comprehension of any subject is the ability to dumb it down for a child to understand. That shows that the teacher understands it to the base level. And that's another great example of where most of the ballers fall weak in their argument. They're more than happy to make these profound statements regarding MIT papers and this and that. But actually, when we do challenge them on the basics, the basic description of, like when Roxanne was in, well, you tell me what makes it a ball. What do you observe? The basics. There's nothing there.
There isn't. There's nothing. They've not nothing in the can when you told them that. Even when we were in Nottingham, that guy that was being a bit of a troll. He had loads of talk until we broke that one down to him, and then we just got silence. I won't give the silence because we're obviously talking now, but it was a deathly silence. And then after the deathly silence, he gave us that classic. And then he went, "What do you? Sorry, do you remember when he said, like, sorry, what in what context do you mean?" And we were like, "Wow, that is a 5-year-old question we've just given you, and now you're asking for context." And like, really? And he just spouted off a whole load of crap, and we just brought it right down to basics again. And again, nothing. And the same thing happened in Doncaster with that troll that was trolling me all day. He reckoned he was a physics guy, and then I ended it off with that, and that eventually shut him up. That eventually shut him up, of all things.
You can't argue inside of a physics theory. You can't, the problem is that theory is just a theory. And what I saw you do skillfully was keep bringing people back. Once they start wandering off into wanting to quote some scientific bit of research that, or as Nathan would say, starts with the assumption you're on a ball. You can't argue a piece of science that's starting with the false dichotomy that you're on a ball. It's not scientific. So there's no point engaging in that debate. And what you were good at doing was on the fly, twigging they were taking and bringing them back to those basics, Roxanne. I thought that was, and that kind of destroyed the guy to the point where he was backing off. And when he got about 10 foot away, he said, "Yeah, well, maybe you should watch some cool hard logic YouTube videos," which, as Zack will say, made me chuckle.
Hey, another member of Iron Realms joined, by the way. Who is that? Is that Josh?
That's Walt.
No, it's Walt. Hello, everybody. How are you all?
Hi.
Hello, Walt. Sorry, Zack. I just cut you off then. It's just I saw that Walt had come on.
Sorry I'm late. It's a crazy Tuesday for me. How are you all again?
Go and stand at the back of the classroom, you naughty boy.
Look, I told you, didn't I? I told you that they nod off when I do my maths stuff, right? No surprise to me. He arrives the second I've finished.
Are you done? Whew, I timed it. That's right. Yes, right.
Yeah, perfect timing, sir.
Love it.
Walt has seen it though, hasn't he?
Once or twice. Now, does it get it yet? Well, that remains to be seen. No, I get it. I'm just not fluent and not able to reproduce it for them at will.
Hey, so that's 3 members of Iron Realm Media here today: Roxanne, Patricia, and me.
Hey.
Good to see you again, Roxanne. We had a blast when you came over and visited us on our show.
Well, thanks so much for having me. I had a great time as well. It was lovely. Thank you, Johnny.
So have you had a minute to rest from the big adventure?
Yes. I've done the come down and normal life has resumed.
Boring old life, right?
Boring old everyday life. There's no where are the guys today? There's none of that anymore. We're back to the boring monotony of everyday life. But yeah, it was an amazing experience. Really loved it and looking forward to the next one.
Well, we thank you all. If you haven't heard the heartfelt thanks from everyone else, definitely I want you to hear it from me. It's been amazing. And when I talk to Jason and Robin and Harry and anyone else connected again, I'll definitely thank them. It was definitely a gift to us all. Thank you all so much.
Well, thank you. That's greatly appreciated. I'll pass that message on. I know a couple of the guys have been in the chat room tonight. I know Jason's been in the chat room at some point, and I know Robin has as well. But I definitely will relay that to the rest of the guys. Thank you so much.
Hey, we're all together. We're all together.
Love it. Right. Love it. Love it. Love it.
It was that good though, Karen. I know the guys are very humble. What they achieved, was amazing in terms of logistically and from an endurance point of view. But what they certainly, from my experience, what they brought, and of the seed, more importantly, that they've sown, I think, is really, really important for the movement in the UK. It's only going to get bigger. It's only going to get stronger. And I say again, thanks, guys, for what you've achieved. And I hope to play a slightly bigger part with you next year as well.
Oh, yes, please do. And there's some other people in the chat room, Karen, that were involved on the tour as well. Kimmy's in the chat room as well. Massive love to Kimmy. And John Thor is also in the chat room. John Thor went and did the Ireland leg of the tour with Harry. And I believe Terry was on that part of the tour with him as well. And yeah, John Thor was a massive input into the tour. He was there quite a few occasions. So John Thor, I didn't see you in the chat room before, but Walt was just showing us his appreciation for everything that was gone on the tour. So yeah, well, this
Roxanne, you're a bit far away from the microphone.
Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Hear me now.
Can you hear me? Hear me now? Started. But yeah, there's multiple people in the room that were involved in the tour. They're all in the chat room. Kimmy, Robin, John Thor, and as I said, Jason was in there earlier on. But I'll relay that to the rest of the team. It's a massive love and appreciation for everyone that shared, made everyone aware, liked, donated, got involved physically. It was a monumental task. Thousands of miles were done. And thousands of people were opened up to the conversation of questioning what we've been taught.
Amazing tour.
Awesome.
And friendships were made, mate, as well. Friendships were made, I think. Not just in Nottingham, but you know, all around the country. And the internet's a lovely thing, but human contact, you know, like that hug you gave me when I turned up in London, you know, that's, you know, yeah, but that's real, man. Do you know what I mean? And you know that dealing with people there is real, and it strengthens the resolve. Certainly for me, anyway. You know, and then that's part of the reason of wanting to come to conferences down to you guys is to realize the internet is one thing. And sitting behind a keyboard, warrioring, doing whatever we're doing is one thing. But to actually get off your arse and engage with people was the lesson that I took from you guys as well.
Wow. That's massive. That is massive. That's massive. And with you even saying that, there's even more people in the room that I've just forgotten to shout out as well. You know, Marilyn Wisby, Bath, Bristol, London. Nora, she came out to the tour as well. Everybody equals mind controlled squares in the chat room. Ruben, he came
Paul on the plane.
Paul on the plane. He was involved in the live link. And Ranty Flat Earth, he came down with Anthony Riley. They came down to London and came to the event as well at the end. And I just saw Ranty in the chat room as well. So yeah, there's a lot of people in the chat room that have come out, and obviously, they're content makers as well. But even people that aren't content makers, people that are mods in chat rooms and stuff, they've all come out in person. And it's a wonderful thing to see that solidarity of human interaction in real life. Because as I say, it's one thing that can't be censored. The internet can be censored, but the streets can't. You can't stop people from going and meeting each other in real life. That can't be stopped.
And there's no electronic sigamajig scrambling all the good energy that we're trying to send back and forth to each other across all these devices.
Correct.
When you're face to face, there's nothing like it. So it reinvigorates those of us who kind of get, when we're doing the daily grind of doing shows and trying to put content together, it definitely can get a little, you just kind of get stuck in a rut, you know, researching, digging up, trying to find something new. And then, seeing the adventure, like I called it earlier, you guys were on, it reinvigorated me. And I'm really wanting to get something going here in Louisiana for sure.
Oh,
that's what I'm saying, Walt. It was like obviously most of my contact is with Zack Walt, Josh, they're all in the States, and John, who's incognito. We won't meet him, but we'll never even see his face or his ginger wig. So you know what I mean? So like I say, it's the opportunity you created for me was the exciting. Hence the reaction when I pulled up in the car park, behaving like a child, beeping me horn and. But it was buzzing, man. I was buzzing. So thank you, because like you made that feeling in me. It was amazing to meet you guys. Harry gives the strongest of hugs. The hug he gave me in the pub. Oh man, I nearly shat myself at first. I got into the bar, and we'd been outside, and I've ordered the drinks, and just somebody grabbed me from behind. I think, oh fuck, what have I done? And then I felt the love coming through, and he just said, "I'm getting these."
I'll tell you what, Harry, if Harry's able to listen to this on the playback, I haven't seen him in the chat room, but if he listens to this on the playback, or if someone can share this with him just now, Harry, massive love and respect to everything that you did on the tour. You were there for every single day of the tour. I still question myself daily on how you got through that and didn't get cabin fever. I can't.
It wasn't the warmest either, was it, Roxanne, in there?
It really wasn't. And for the most part, Harry wasn't able to sleep comfortably, and nor was Jason. There was a few issues with the camper van. But I tell you what, the amount of admiration I've got for Harry, and for Jason, of course, and for everyone else that put in energy, time, into that tour, as well as the donations as well. The effort that was put in on that camper van to relentlessly go from destination to destination and keep the activism going and keep the housekeeping of the camper van going and making sure that, people were being responded to and comments were being replied to and emails were getting replied to. And, it was an incredible task. And yeah, we probably did underestimate how monumental that task was. We did think it was a big task. I think it was just, as we went through the tour, we realized how massive it was to complete, and we were dead focused on getting to that finish line. We realized at one point we were having major issues with the camper van, and at one point we didn't know if we were going to be towing it over that gate for the school or driving it over that gate. I think Harry probably couldn't have got home quick enough. I would have thought, even for me, just the 4 days I was on that camper van, I was like, yep, I'm good. Like I need to get back to my home. So and Jason, he spent a massive amount of time on that tour as well. So yeah, just
you stayed awake on most of the night talking.
I did. As Jason says, I don't really have an off button, which is true. My partner would second that. I probably talk from the second I get up to and I go to sleep. So yeah, Harry and Jason, thank you so much for putting up with me, because they did. I mean, it wasn't like I was drunk and awake until 5. I just had a lot to debrief from the day. I just felt like it took me all night to kind of sort through what had happened in the day, because, even as you know, Adam, just in Nottingham, it was a lot to absorb, meeting other like-minded people and hearing their testimonies and going back and forth. It does take hours. It's not a laborious task. You just don't realize where the time goes. And before you know it, 5, 6, 7 hours. I mean, even Adam, when you went, it was
even
like
on a hangout. Even on a hangout, you need to debrief after a hangout, don't you? You don't just go straight to bed. You need to unwind a bit just from a hangout, an hour or two. Imagine hours every day.
Yeah.
It's always nice to have a quick chat over a pint as well. There's one thing I would say. You've got an amazing partner like myself that isn't a flat earther, and just a shout out to all the non-flat earth part. It's not to say they think it's a ball. They don't. My wife couldn't give a shit, is the standard phrase. But what she does give a shit is that she sees it's a passion of mine and it means something to me. And a shout out to my Marie. I don't know what your fella's called, Roxanne.
Shout out to my partner Raymond. He knows he's not on a spinning ball flying through space. He's holding everything else down that I don't, now that I do a lot more of this. And for Jason's partner and for Robin's partner,
well, at least
for
you
Ruben's partner as well, for everybody that is a flat earth wag. A wagman, or could we say a bwag? Boyfriends, wives, and girlfriends. Boyfriends, or a hubwag. But wives and girlfriends and husbands and boyfriends of flat earthers, like, massive respect to all of you for allowing your loved ones to devote the amount of time that they do to this most important topic of spreading awareness. So yeah, massive respect.
I couldn't do it without my Marie. I mean, I'll be sat here sometimes, and up will come a cup of coffee and a biscuit or a sandwich, you know, and she even knows to lightly tap on the door because I might be streaming, you know, and that's love. And I want to say again, thank you, babe, because I couldn't expend the energy. I'd feel guilty without her full support, you know, and I think our partners are amazing.
Yeah, I couldn't do it without the support of my children and my partner. If they didn't support me the way they do, I would definitely not be as public as I am, because I wouldn't be able to be.
Hugs
admittedly,
and love,
maybe
hugs and love for you all.
right back.
Can I just say, I feel really bad because I should remember the place, because Mr. Fry told me that he met up last night with some people where he is in Arizona, and he met Hori Sheet Show.
Oh,
So
nice.
see, there are meetings everywhere.
I've never chatted to Hori.
No, neither have I.
I've done it over email, but that's it.
Yeah, that's about it. Messages.
He's a friend of SAMFU, though, isn't he, Karen? I've seen him on here loads.
Yes, he is. He's moved at the moment. He's going to the convention or conference tomorrow. There's quite a few people in the chat room who are going, as well as Zack's going. Earlier on, there was Joe Mama. He was packing up to go. Joe Hill was in the chat room. He's going. So, yeah, it's all great stuff.
Wow.
Zack's the man. Zack's on the front desk, you know.
Yes, he is.
He's on registration, aren't you, Zack?
Hey, just asking you, just changing the subject just a little bit as we've got Iron Realm Media on here. When you've been doing your radio show and interviewed people, who's been your favourite guest?
Ooh, stinker, Walt. Have that.
Really, huh? That's something I've really never considered. I mean, every week it seems like it gets better and better. And I'm not just saying that to kiss anybody's butt. It truly just, I mean, we meet so many amazing people. It's not like, oh, this big star showed up and he was the best guest, or this big, you know.
Yeah, it's easy to say crow, isn't it? And go, or do you know what I mean? And they're cool.
But even that being said, some of the best shows we've had were people we met on Twitter who've never even done a video before, who never had an account. They just showed up, saw our madness, jumped in with both feet, and they were just wonderful, amazing friends ever since. So it's, you know, golly, I would have to think that one through a lot.
Everyone's, but like this week with Mark Devlin, right? He hadn't really come out as flat. We were chatting just in the pre-show, and he says, "You know what? I'm so chilled. Give me a second, guys. I'm off to get a vodka." You know, and to me, it's not. There isn't a favourite guest. It's a blessing, you know, to be able to meet all these people,
truly friends and family we've met.
Yeah, and be friends without having. It's great. There isn't a favourite. There's been a few we haven't got on with.
I know what you're thinking about.
But that's life. Isn't it? And you know, you can't. Not every match works. So, I wouldn't have a favourite, Karen. I think I'm blessed enough to have had some amazing contacts with really, really, truly amazing people from all different walks of life. It's been.
Yeah, like us, we try to, as a group, talk to as many people. So you can't really put one hangout out because each one's different with different people, different subjects, different topics. So I just love the variety.
I was going to say, if you ask you the same, it's a killer question, because it isn't. It's the whole experience of what we're doing it's really, like I say, it's a blessing that the guys ask me couple of years ago to come and join them. Some little geek that was saying, I'm sure I can show this curvature and figure a formula out. I mean, it only took me a year and a half, but but it's been a roller coaster ride. And it, like I say, you know, the ridicule that people I don't know may want to give me is more than balanced out by the love and the interaction that I've had over these years. It's a journey I can honestly encourage others to follow. Come on and open your mind.
Yeah, well said.
But you've done experiments as well, haven't you, Adam? The moon.
Ooh, yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, we did the moon. We did. That was early on, and me and John were chatting, and we'd done stuff, and he said, "Go away and do a proper scientific experiment." And now I know Quantum Eraser will probably get to hear this, so I'll refer him. I'll refer him to the full IRM videos, but I did set out there to create a moonlight experiment that was took into account the criticisms of a lot of the ones out there, and the key point was to try and isolate your variables so that we only had one independent variable, which was exposure to moonlight. And I had a number of convoluted contraptions, which if you go back and look at, was there. But the other thing I took great care in doing was getting hold of actually HMRC calibrated thermometers. They're actually pharmacy fridge thermometers that have to be, you know, weights and measures calibrated. So I was confident I was using accurate equipment, and they were also sensor probes. So they were relative to the atmosphere in which they were in, as opposed to the scattergun infrared rays, etc. And
right, like my sad attempt early on with my brother's temperature laser gun or whatever the heck it was.
Yeah, but it's that pioneering stuff that gets criticism that means you hone any experiment, doesn't it? You know what I mean? And it was taking that and taking baller criticism and flat earth criticism of the experiments. Particularly, there was a lot more flat earth because Jaron was doing it and lots of people were doing it, and there was lots of criticism from like I say, both sides in terms of trying to get something that was a bit more valid. So I had this.
We've had to learn exactly what science is after all.
Well, yeah, I think, and that's the key that I'm taking out is we've got to reteach. Certainly, what Nathan's doing is reteaching science, you know. But so we did this. I set this equipment up, Karen, and basically over 1, 2, 3 hour periods, because that's the other big criticism of all the moonlight experiments. They're single second snapshots of the temperature. But what I did was take these 10-15 minute readings every 10 or 15 minutes and record that and then plot that graphically to illustrate the point. And the net result was we had the probes, we put them one in moonlight, one in the other. One went over 1.5 degrees cooler. We swapped them over and their relative temperatures crossed over. And these probes literally were no more than 6 inches apart. The only difference, one being exposed to moonlight. We repeated the experiment in Italy, didn't we, Walt, when I was
Yes, sir.
drunk one evening. My mum was there.
I remember, yes.
Yeah. But it worked there as well, even with just those basic thermometers. So, yeah, I mean, I did the best I could to isolate that the only exposure was, I even had, you know, I was taking wind speed, air temperature, all of this sort of thing. I also had one of the probes was contained in a greenhouse. And therefore, you know, there was no outside atmospherics. And eventually I got that probe as cool as the coolest probe, which makes no sense from a straightforward moonlight is reflecting sunlight point of view. So there was quite a lot of anecdotal data that suggests further more specific stuff. But yeah, I would say that from my best experiment I could conjure, I could not disprove that moonlight appears to be of a different nature, and it would not appear to be reflected sunlight. It appears to have different properties, which appear on the most basic function has a cooling effect, a reduction in the temperature of the surface it's hitting, in contrast to sunlight warming.
Thing is, a lot of people would have said it, but it makes a difference when you do some of these things yourself, because then you know for sure, don't you? And then it just
absolutely.
These were quite significant. So the experiments were over 2 or 3 weeks, with the moon waxing and waning at different rates. And actually, the biggest temperature difference I got, was when the moon was high in the sky about 5 o'clock one afternoon in the summer, and the sun was the other side of my house. So my house, so it was in the shade, but the moon was so high, and I think I got about a 1.6, 1.7 degree difference there. And that was during the day, which I found quite significant as well. I said, none of them make any claims with regards to putrefaction or anything like that, but there is certainly data there that warrants further investigation, that actually there's something going off here. It's not a random snapshot. These are trend patterns of increase. This was the other thing. It isn't just a cooler temperature. When you expose it to the moonlight, it's the rate of cooling that is more significant as well. So you see an increased cooling rate in the moonlight, and that was the really significant thing for me, that the graph line was a much steeper gradient when exposed to moonlight, not just we got to a slightly different temperature repeatedly, test after test after test.
And it did what you wanted it to do anyway, really.
I honestly,
You're a bit shocked.
I didn't believe it. Okay, so when I first was doing it, the science boy in me was like, nah, but I'll do it for John. And that's why I went to great lengths to ensure that as far as was humanly possible, my isolated, independent variable was just the moonlight. There wasn't anything else. There was no difference between the two. There wasn't this nonsense of radiated heat off into the vacuum of space, which is one of the bullshit explanations. If you read Quora and stuff like that, apparently, if you've got like an umbrella over one of them, it's not that it's shaded locally. It's the rate of radiation loss to the vacuum of space that means that that's cooler. Is one of the bullshit physics forms. So I looked at all as much as I could to try and set the experiment up so that wasn't so it was a direct wall, a 90-degree wall between the two probes. So the only difference was the side of the wall. So there isn't any additional shielding effect. The only shielding occurs from the moonlight. There's no shielding from the rest of the atmospherics. And that's why I also took into account measuring the direction of the wind. So I also tried to set it up so that it was as neutral as possible with regards to wind blowing over it.
I don't remember. Was it a full moon or was it
I had partial moon. The results honestly weren't that significantly different. That's why I did it over the moon's periods, just to see if there was at full moon was there more cooling. But really, honestly,
this morning we talked. Did you hear the story about the werewolves on the moon? Sorry,
that was science. That was real science, wasn't it?
Apparently, somebody on Twitter asked what would happen if we sent a werewolf to the moon, and some geologist said about this morning. We read a story that he said about trying to figure that out. Now it was all crap, but this thing about the ionosphere of the moon and the atmosphere it creates, and the fact that The solar wind blows that atmosphere apart most of the time. But during the full moon, the moon is protected within the Earth's magnetic bubble. That protects it from the sun, so the ionosphere can sizzle up and actually create this almost like a connection between the Earth and the moon with these charged particles of plasma. So that's why a werewolf would be affected by a full moon. I'm thinking, okay, so if the Earth is blocking these rays of the sun to keep, or these winds of the sun to block the moon and keep the ionosphere fizzling, wouldn't that put it in the shade of the Earth and it wouldn't be an actual full moon? I'm just trying to work it out in their little model, and it doesn't quite fit.
No. No. Someone else has joined from your Iron Realm Media. Josh.
Yeah, I figured I'd make it now that Adam's finally done with the maths and there's little chance.
Right. You waited a good time. I jumped in when I thought it was safe.
Well, I heard you get the question of who's the favorite guest, so I had to wait a couple minutes extra just in case.
There we go.
Welcome,
Well,
Josh.
Karen, now I've got them
Yeah.
both here, right? I was on Nathan Oakley today, and I did a shitload more maths to disprove.
Here we go. Well,
Yeah, I've got you now. I know you can't run off.
Thank you, buddy. I love you guys. Thank you. No.
It's been great. Thanks for having us, Karen. Bye-bye.
No, I won't put you through that more maths.
Do show it again then.
If you wanted to see it, I would bore the pants off you. So I was just going to say, I was just teasing, but actually we were on. There was another great flat Earth kind of team flat Earth gathering together again of minds to kind of work on this kind of individually. Everybody set off on their own path and then came together, and it kind of was nice today on Nathan's show with me and Ranty kind of co-presenting something we hadn't even gone through particularly well. I'd had 10 minutes with him in the morning just to say, "Did you see my spreadsheet?" But we've got this baller, Miles the Liar Davis. I don't know if any of you guys have seen his vid with regards to flat Earth disproof.
I'm not sure. I've been watching so many videos this last few days.
Well, basically, we've got a picture that's based on a lot of the work, and there's been a bit of tete-a-tete with him and Nick from Puckett Word, and he's been kind of having a go at Nick. Nick's presented a fantastic argument where I kind of built my understanding from, and basically he's put his neck on the line and said, if this isn't true, it's not a ball proof, I'll delete all the content on my channel and become a flat earther. So obviously that was a small incentive to a few of us,
Because that's how becoming a flat earther works.
Yeah. I bet you. Yeah. So we've kind of headed on that thing. I'll refer you to Nathan's. It's too long to go into now, but it really is, guys, probably worth. It's about half an hour, me, then Ranty, just going over the points with regards to the observations, me from the calculations of angular size and how that has a massive impact when you apply the heights of hills, mountains at distance on a ball, and how that has a huge reduction in the relative height. So a hill that you think is slightly bigger than another hill, which it is, because there's a reduction, which only looks a small difference, say 90 kilometers compared to 93. Well, actually, because of the cumulative effect, it's not a 3 kilometer difference that you see. It's the difference between 90 kilometers curvature and 93, which, if you understand curvature, it is cumulative. So it's not just 3 kilometers, put simply. And this has a massive impact of how peaks would look. So this gentleman putting out his challenge has really provided one of the biggest flat earth proofs, because he went to great detail to highlight the peaks, give us their height and their distance. And it's this application of some of the maths. And then Ranty's done his perspective work on this to absolutely smash the fact that there is no chance whatsoever that this is an observation on a ball. And in fact, I've done a bit of statistics, some rank ordering, and other than the fact that Miles has got his camera angled up, the observations fit exactly as predicted by the angular size. And if you take the data and put it onto a ball, it's an absolute jumbled mess, where none of the peaks match up to as he's predicted, or as the observation
but a mountain
makes.
should be higher than the bridge, Adam. A mountain should be higher than the bridge.
Yeah.
Dude, those guys are driving me insane in chat with that endlessly.
Yeah. I think that's the good thing from his data as well. He's got the bridge and the mountain. Now, the hill. The hill is twice the height virtually as the bridge, but the bridge is only half the distance. And surprisingly, they're virtually identical. But we know that the hill is twice the height, but in the picture, they're the same height.
But on flat earth, stuff magically doesn't get smaller in the distance. Don't you know that? That's how it should work on a flat earth. Things don't have an angular distance to them. They don't get smaller. There's no resolution issue. Come on, man.
No, you're right. It's just geometric curve. I'm a naive fool. Yeah. So that was that, Karen. I'd hopefully people have a look at that, because it really is fantastic. Globe arguers evidence destroyed by a few of us. Riley was involved. Nathan's involved. And like I said, particularly, I took a lot of learning from the observation and comment that Nick from Bucket Word made as well, who Miles took great pleasure in attempting to ridicule, where all he did was kind of show himself up for being the ill-informed person that he is, sadly. Yeah, so have a look, guys, if you wouldn't mind.
I think that Zack's having problems. He keeps appearing and disappearing. Poor Zack. He'll be back in a minute.
It's probably parked up too long, been moved on at that petrol station, isn't it?
Hey, it's nice to see Josh as well. I haven't seen you boys for a while. Seen Adam a couple of times, I think, but not Iron Realm Media. I can't remember the last time we had to hang out together.
It's been a while. It's been a good long while.
Yeah, it has, boys.
But you've been plugging away, staying hard at it. So thank you also, Karen, because you're out there all the time, always putting out great stuff, having great people on. So thank you as well.
Tell you what, though, it's weird, isn't it?
Oh,
Because you head off, don't you, doing your thing. You know what I mean? Like the last time we all chatted like this was a year and a half. When you were kind of
I think we've had a hangout together since then, but it's been a few good months.
Really? No, that's
I don't think it's been that long.
I'm rubbish for time.
I think we had one at the beginning of the year. I think February, but I think Adam's been on Sun and Moon once or twice.
So I just feel like I've been a flat earther for like 20 years or more. The whole journey. This is the trouble. So I kind of scale it on that. I sit there bragging about maths. I've got no concept of time. It's
well, you're here to talk on Sun and Moon.
Flat Earth seems to have its own time. Everything seems to spread out a little bit once you get into Flat Earth. So now, what was a week turns into like a Flat Earth month. So once you're up for 24 hours studying Flat Earth, once you first get that first bug, time after that is just never the same.
Yep, you're so right.
The point I was going to make, Carol, was I'm sat here, I'm chilled. It's like I'm sat in my front room. We haven't spoken years, and that's the lovely thing for me about all the flat earth folks I meet. You know, once you've made contact, there's a level of honesty that we've come into this forum that you afford people a level of trust, and I think it's great. I think it's lovely that we haven't spoken this long, and
but it feels like we
yes.
have, I guess,
Yeah, man.
because of the connection we made or the continued energy we keep sending. I don't know, but yeah, it's.
Having said that, Walt, I say that to my mum when she tells me off for not ringing for a while. So it's
it works, right? It works.
Yeah. Oh, it's fine.
Well, you've all been
No,
very busy, haven't you?
I bet. We hit our year mark on TFR, me and Josh and Zack there not long ago. It was like, really? It just flew by. There was no
October. Yeah,
suddenly there it was. Like, no way.
100 episodes and 1 year on TFR back in October. So yeah, that was really exciting.
I see Zack pop back in, but apparently he is having the trouble to get. I don't know what's going on. He must be in a bad spot.
Yeah, I'm back at the campsite. Hank was.
There he is.
Hey, Zach,
Hank
I'll
was
just you can hang up. Save your.
Okay,
I'll just call you on the flat line.
that'd be awesome. I appreciate it. I'll talk to you all here in a sec.
We've learned a technical trick or two.
What's happening with Zack?
Because he's gone a wandering, he doesn't always get Wi-Fi. So what Josh has got rigged up is you can call him. We've got like a dedicated a flat line.
Call it a flat earth satellite, if you will.
We bounce it off. Yeah, it's bounced off the dome. But so wherever Zack is, as long as he's got a telephone connection, he can get on Iron Realm on a Friday or TFR, etc. So
Hi there, everybody.
there you go.
Hey.
Now he's not going to have a $400 phone bill.
I know that guy.
Yeah, I had to leave the truck stop. Hank, he does good if we're moving, but if we're just sitting there, I can get maybe 45 minutes an hour, and then he really starts getting fussy. Like, come on, Dad, what are we doing here? You just been sitting here talking to nothing. He still doesn't get the concept of the whole phone thing.
Do you think he thinks you're schizophrenic?
Sitting with a little black box.
He must think we're all insane. Exactly.
I think all dogs think we're insane.
He was ready to come home and get some food and all that kind of stuff, huh, pal? Okay. So yeah, I had to bring him home.
When you saying ta-ra to Hank?
Huh?
Aren't you leaving Hank while you nip off to the conference?
With my buddy that I met out there in Capitan, he has a dog as well, and Hank just loves him and his dog, and that was the only reason I even thought about going to the conference, because he said he'd watch him for me. I was like, all right, well, I'll see if I can't raise some money for the plane ticket to get there and all that kind of good stuff.
Oh, Zack, we were saying earlier when you dropped out that you're on the registration desk, aren't you?
Yeah.
Sorry, I've come on twice because
everybody is there walking.
my computer was messing up so much I just couldn't hear anything. It kept going.
Wait a minute. Let me see your fingers. Are you a clone?
No, it's me, but I've just muted the other one because obviously the admin panel's on the other
I
one.
think we're all having some issues. I was trying to mute and pop my mic and I couldn't do anything. I got my camera on and it's working again now though.
Oh, I can hear everybody properly now on my phone. Anyway, carry on, everybody.
And crickets.
That's it, you see.
Yeah, I'll be at the registration desk out front, greeting everybody as I come into the conference. So I don't know how much time I'll have to walk around and see everything and do all that kind of stuff, but I'll be there. That's the important thing.
So
I
make
get
sure
to go to the banquet dinner and all that kind of stuff.
So everybody make sure you say hi to Zack, the Good Times for All channel there on YouTube. When you're registering for the event, just say hello, give him a wave. Say, hey, I like your hat. That's a snazzy t-shirt you're wearing.
I like hugs too. You can give me a hug. I don't mind.
How far are you from Denver then, Zack?
Yep, I'll be flying out tomorrow.
How far away are you?
Right.
Right now, I'm 957 miles away. But
That's
I'll
good
be
that you're flying
driving,
then.
which is I think about 170 miles from here, and then I'll be flying into Denver from Phoenix. I don't want to do the whole Rocky Mountains with snow, and I'm a country boy from Indiana where we don't have mountains or hills. Or where I grew up, it was 27 miles long and only 30-foot elevation difference. That whole 27 miles.
I know a song about that.
Flat things. I was driving through the mountains in New Mexico, the Gila Mountain. And there's like 400 or 500 foot sheer drop off cliffs with no guardrails or anything like that. And my hands were stuck to the steering wheel and my eyes were glued to the road, and I was not having a good time driving. And it was such beautiful sights. I didn't even stop to take a picture anywhere. I was just so terrified, and I wanted to get off that mountain. I couldn't even imagine doing it in the snow. So yeah, I'll be flying in. And Chris Van Matre, one of my good buddies, he'll be picking me up, and I'll be staying at his house with him. So yeah, I'm super excited. Coming up here tomorrow.
So that's mad, that is, to me. I don't know about you. That's like Zack stopping at Chris Van Matry's house. That's wicked.
I know, right?
That's just like community. That's like
Connection.
it's like when I saw people rocking up at your house, Roxanne. You know, when we're, you know, it's just they're the things that you say. Yeah, we are real. But this is real. You know, because people do that sort of shit. You know, come in my house. So
Yeah, and Chris and I have been talking for about, it'll be 4 years here next March. I started doing my son data collecting and stuff like that, and he was doing it, and we were introduced by BLMSB69, the guy out in California, lives on the coast. And ever since then, Chris and I mean, we talk every Sunday now. He, I, and a couple other gentlemen get together and have discussions on perspective and surveying and just whatever. And every Sunday morning, I mean, it's been like church
Can I
almost.
just say, Roxanne, are you trying to leave? Roxanne?
Sorry, yes, I'm here. Yes, I'm gonna have to go shortly, guys. Karen, I can't thank you enough for doing this hangout tonight, and Iron Realm Media and you guys, thank you so much for involving me in this evening, because it's been a real eye-opener for me.
oh mate, stay in touch, and
Absolutely.
Definitely.
you know, I know you're doing stuff with Anthony, and I want to give you know a shout out that maybe I could contribute towards some of that stuff, towards the production side. Certainly from a content point of view, I'm not suggesting going on stage for for any reason, but I'd love to be involved with that, mate, and by all means use all that the stuff I've given you, and hopefully you'll come on. I think the boys really would like you, because you know,
yes, ma'am. I was trying to compare. You got there first, Adam.
We're in the presence of two, aren't we, at the moment? And you guys are. There's not many women in flat Earth, full stop.
Right.
And there's not that many people in flat Earth, but you're certainly two of the impressive people in flat Earth. So it's. For me, you know, you guys are awesome, irrespective of gender. But I do think the fact that you are ladies, and it's stuff those guys chatted about 2 years ago, you know, the day that flat Earth starts to get real is just like anything. No matter what we say about it being a man's world, it might be a man's world, but the home is the woman's. And it's when women, mothers particularly, embrace ideas and perspectives that actually you really do see change in society.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
And we need more women.
That's right. The more we can advocate for women stepping up and stepping out in the public and speaking about these most important truths, I think the better. That's why I'm super looking forward to the end of this month, because in London, we've got Cosmic Cat. She's going to be doing a truth talk with Trinity 4, Dave Manel. And that's Marilyn Wisby's cousin, Cosmic Cat. So, you know, Marilyn Wisby herself, like Karen, she's stepped out in public and spoken about it. And the UK is not that big, guys. It's only a few 100 miles, you know. And I think, you know, the more that we can advocate for women being brave enough to step up and step out, the better. Because like Adam says, you know, it is a bit of a man's world. For me, I worked in construction for the best part of a decade, and it does feel like a bit of a construction site. It's like seldom do I come across another woman that's as outspoken as me. That's why it was such a pleasure to come to you and meet you, Karen, because it was like, oh, some oxygen in my life, like another woman who's speaking out in person. Like I need to have that human interaction. And it was like, I didn't want to go home. Do you remember? It was like late nights and I had to leave, and I was like, oh, right, it's gone so quick.
I know, it
and
does when you're having fun.
Quick.
All those things.
We had an amazing walk. That walk around that lake was gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And we drank it all in the whole day. And I look back at that day with fond memories now. And it's like Adam says, it's a different thing when you go out and you actually interact with people in real life. And to not do it just at an event, you know, just to go out of your way and make that pilgrimage to meet up with one another, I think it's a good look. Only good things can happen.
Yeah, we have to bring ourselves together somehow, don't we?
Yeah, we do indeed. I'm gutted. I've got to go. I've got to get up super early in the morning. Now my dog's going nuts.
Very quickly, have you because often when you're here, you always have something else to announce. You've announced it, the thing with Cosmic Cat.
Well, there's a couple of things. Yeah, there's a couple of things. Oh, you know what? There's not a couple of things. There's a truckload of stuff. But I can't steal other people's thunder. So with sorry, can you just hold on? My dog's really trying to do this whole hit the spotlight, right? Let me just grab him.
He wants his time.
Really,
right?
he just really did. So the 25th of November will be a activism and meet up at Hyde Park Speakers Corner, London, and that will be from midday onwards. And that is Sunday, the 25th of November. It was stated from the get-go that we're going to make a perpetual appearance there the last Sunday of each month. So even if the internet was to fail and it was a sky falling doomsday thing on the whole technological front, you can bet your bottom dollar that one of us will be there at the end of the month. Trinity 4 lives in London. We've got Marilyn, Cosmic Cat are within reach. Also, Everybody Equals Mind Controlled Squared, Rubin, and a lot of other people have come out that are within the vicinity of London. So there will be people there the last Sunday of each month, and that will be continuous until further notice. Until you hear any different, guarantee the last Sunday of each month, people will be at Speaker's Corner. And then this additional event is going to be on the 29th of November, and this is going to be at a pub in Greenwich, a really awesome pub in Greenwich, which is within proximity of the Cutty Sark and on the Greenwich Meridian timeline. And I think, if I'm right, Dave is looking with Kat to make this a continuous event every month. So I think there could be two things every month in London with regards to Flat Earth and all other truths. The event at the pub is called Truth Talks. So yeah, there's a lot. And that's just a smidgen. That's a smidgen, and everything else, I'm not going to steal everyone else's thunder with that. But there's lots of exciting things coming. Lots. And on that note, I'm done.
Thank you so much, Roxanne. Definitely get in touch with us over here. You know how to get through Adam or whatever, so we can get you over on Truth Frequency Radio for sure.
Yes, please. I've really enjoyed conversing with all of you. Massive hugs and love and respect to every single one of you. Thank goodness, the truth has got amazing, awesome people like you on its side. You guys are doing the truth a monumental service. Keep on doing what you were doing when you were doing what you were doing. Okay. All right.
God bless Roxanne.
All right, Karen, massive love to you for holding this hangout, my darling, and everything that you're doing. And to the chat room, sorry I haven't been able to be in the chat room the whole time. I'm having crazy technological difficulties in the background with my stuff. So my apologies if I haven't responded to anyone in the chat room, but massive love and respect to you all for tuning in. And if you haven't already liked this, please like it and make everyone aware of it. You know, that's another way you can spread awareness by beating the algorithms. The amount of times my like has been removed off of this video, it keeps happening to me, especially the ones that I'm involved in. It's like YouTube just goes, no, we're going to take that like away. I'm like, no, put it back, like. So if anyone else is going through that, just keep double checking. If you've already liked it, just go back and check again in case the like's been taken off, because it's happened to me a couple of times tonight. Karen's on mute. I'm not sure if Karen's having technology.
We actually watched it happening live.
Oh dear, I was talking.
last
I was
Friday.
muted.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Thank
Sorry,
you,
Karen, go ahead.
Roxanne. So Roxanne. I was saying all these things. I was muted.
Oh,
Sorry.
bless. Sorry, babes. Sorry, darling. So
Yeah.
you were saying, well, you've seen that, yeah? You've seen that happening.
On our Friday
But it's not just me.
show, we had Mark Devlin. He brought I guess a nice little audience with him.
Mhm.
At one point, there was more thumbs down than thumbs up. I mentioned it in the chat, and I began to watch the thumbs up slowly disappear as everyone in chat swore they were looking at their thumbs up lit up on their screen. So if we're all looking at a lit up thumbs up, there should be more than
Right.
one. And that's, you know, and I'm watching it live. It was crazy.
Yeah, we had that happen to us.
Right, well, big hugs to you all, Karen.
Yes, much
guys,
love, Roxanne. Thank you.
so much. Look forward to speaking to you all again soon, guys. Big hugs. Mwah. Take
Bye,
care.
darling. Mwah.
See you later, mate. Take care.
Bye. Bye.
Bye, darling. Can I just say something, Adam, when you were talking? There is another lady on our panel, Patricia. Patricia's here. So there's 3 ladies here today. Patricia's just a bit quiet because she wasn't feeling very well. But 3 ladies. Patricia really helps me. So she's another one of those women. I just wanted to say.
Much love to you, Patricia.
Totally. It is, like I said, the point I was making is minds are formed in the home, and you can convert as many percentage of the men as you want. But to me, in terms of where the impact's going to be made, where people are educated, it's women that will make the difference for the future generations. And I think if I was planning a strategy of actually using flat earth dissemination, I wouldn't be wasting my time trying to convince arrogant academics who are mostly men. I would be heading towards areas like what Anthony and Roxanne are starting to do with regards to this legal case, heading towards the schools, not necessarily because it's the kids, but because you are going to engage with the main parent that engages with the schools, and it's going to make them aware. It's going to make them think about it. Yeah. And if they're on board, then actually, God knows how many conversations my wife has with my sons that I miss. Yeah. Because I'm not there, because, you know, and as an equal world we live in, the reality is that most families function as they always have done. You know, there's the odd exceptions, but actually from a demographics point of view, it's women that tend to be the main caregivers, and it's men that tend to be out more. And with that in mind, to me, it's the youth we need to focus on. It's the children, not, like I said, we talked about on the show about how our kids amaze us and surprise us with their, not necessarily flat earth stuff, but their clear comprehension of the corruption of the system, of Illuminati at 10, you know. And to me, we're not going to turn the tide of flat earth overnight, but actually by the time, like my kids who are 11, 13 are young men at 20, actually there may be a significant proportion of educated people that are holding an opinion that isn't what the mainstream purport we all hold. But for me, it's that'll be delivered through mothers, not fathers.
My kids don't listen to me.
You say that, Karen. I've never listened to them. I wouldn't admit I did, but I did.
So, what's happening with Iron Realm Media these days then? As there's so many of you on Sun and Moon today.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's a good question. More the same, probably. But we've always got little tweaks and improvements we would like to make happen. It's just that a small percentage of those actually come to fruition. But still, we're still working on Tuesdays and Fridays on TFR. There's been grumblings. I've mentioned once or twice that I might try to pick up a third day. Maybe go Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays on TFR, but that's...
And I keep telling him he's insane because of his workload already upon him. So, but I mean, I'm raring to do it. It's just, it's early for us for sure.
Yeah, 4 a.m. does come pretty early, and that's when the show starts. So really, I'm up at 3 to go live at 4. We're off at 6. I am straight out the door and at work in my seat at 6:30. So,
Whoa, that's commitment for you then.
well, then on Fridays I get off at 3, pick up my son, come straight home, and I'm in this seat ready for some Have No Sphere on YouTube at 4:30. So I usually run 17, 18 hours a day on Fridays between broadcasts and a slave job. So
I wouldn't say mine's quite as mean as yours on the time, like the actual how early it is, but I'm the same. I go to work, I come home, put the computer on, get the hangout ready. So I have the same thing where I get out the way, I need to get home.
This morning, he literally jumped out of bed onto his microphone.
it was the case where I was seconds away from sending Walter a text telling him just to put up a rebroadcast. I overslept. Screw it. We're just not going to do one today. We've missed maybe 3 shows in the last, 14 months, 13 months. So I figured we're due. So I had the text typed out, set it to rebroadcast. And I said, there's no way I can't even finish that word. Don't want to make that happen. So I threw myself out of bed and flew downstairs and got the computer fired up in about 4 minutes, just in time to have the intro music coming on. So it was close.
Yeah, because sometimes there's preparation, isn't there? You know, like we had another couple of channels when we got a strike before, and I still keep them going. They're still part. I just put the hangout on there more, the hangout of the day, and I have to go and do that, and I have to go and do this, and it's a lot of effort sometimes, but all for a good reason. But it like, I want to finish work. I want to get home.
It really is strange the amount of stress that we put on ourselves just for these little things that we do out here to get this flat earth word out there. I mean, it's completely a project of the heart, right? We're not getting paid for this. We do it because we want people to hear it, and we want the people that know it to know that they're not alone, and that there's other people out there thinking like them, and that will help sort of break down this reality and try to give it a more even-keeled review than you might find in other places. And I guess at this point, we're not even that even-keeled, because the first time we see something that says NASA or dark matter, we just laugh and just pretty much disregard it completely, because we know it's going to be more pseudoscience nonsense.
Yes.
More space lettuce.
More what's that?
Space lettuce.
More space lettuce. That's right.
Absolutely.
Space lettuce.
And it seems to never end. Every time I think I'm not going to find something new, there's 10 more stories that are just as ridiculous, if not more. It's almost like they have I don't know if you guys have that in the UK, Mad Libs, that you fill in the blank with some silly words and somebody reads the story out later. And that's what it feels like. They're just making it up as they go along, completely from whole cloth.
Yep, that's what it is. Just fill in this adjective here. We need a new verb here, a couple different nouns here, and we'll just reissue the story in about 6 months.
So how come it's so early for Josh? Is it just so that you match him with the rest of Iron Realm Media?
Well, it's early for me because when we got on TFR, I wanted to pick a time that I knew that I'd be able to show up every morning, and not have to miss a day. So I wanted to, the only time I knew I could be there consistently is time I was in bed. So I just shaved a few hours off my sleep time and gave it to TFR. And the Ironworks was born. So now Walt and I, because we are in the same time zone, so it's just as early for Walt as it is for me. So
Yes, buddy, 4 a.m.
It's called the stupidity of true commitment.
What time is it for you then, Adam, usually?
Well, it's when they're starting, I'm at work, so it's 10 o'clock in the morning. So it's fantastic for me. I have a great radio show to listen to.
And every now and again, he can pop in and be on that show. So yeah.
Like this morning, I just dived in, didn't I? So yeah, it's great for me because it's, you know, I'll listen to it and I'm listening to the guys and I'll keep diving on the keyboard in chat and say hello to some of the, again, a different community out there. There's people all over the place there that are amazing as well. Shout out to Liz.
What about Zack then? What about for Zack?
Well, that's how we met Zack. He was there in chat with us since the beginning, and he called in once or twice. In fact, the only time I've ever heard Zack mad was on one of the call-ins to our show talking about NASA. And I don't remember what story irked him so mad. Something about...
Oh, it was a lady who said that she was one of the chosen ones. She called in, you guys should be ashamed of yourself for...
I had never heard Zack mad. I was stunned.
I just lost.
He did. He went off. Wow. So, and after it felt like he was one of the family. It felt like we found a brother we didn't know we had lost. We invited him to be part of the Iron Realm team. So he had already been putting out great content though on his Good Times for All channel for some time. I mean, go back through the backlog there. It is phenomenal stuff. In fact, we almost didn't want to invite him to our little ragtag operation so that wouldn't stop, man. It was so much good content over there.
Well, Zack's stuff was legendary, wasn't that was genuine, wasn't it? It was would he join us bunch of Muppets? Because the stuff it was do you reckon he'd say, yeah, sod off, you bunch of idiots? Do you know what I mean?
What's he gonna do? Say no?
Yeah, sod it.
No harm, no foul.
Yeah. It's like being a teenager again, wasn't it? I remember it. We were like, yeah, funny.
What were you saying, Zack?
I said I was ecstatic when you guys asked me. That was a good day. That was a Tuesday, I believe.
We went straight past first base, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, that was a good day for sure.
And we did find a brother in Zack.
Yeah, and you do part of this on trust, don't you?
Well, he's the only one that of Iron Realm Media, but I've known Walt and John and Adam for years at this point, and Zack's the only one I've ever met in person. He's the only one I've got to wrap my arms around and give a great big hug to. So I'm hoping we'll change that next year.
Right, and not long after he made that trip to Josh's house, he made the trip down here to see me and hung out at my house, and I got to wrap my arms around and get that big hug. So it's been a real actual connection and just amazing.
Hey, Zack will have to go.
One of these days I find myself working on a fishing boat or something like that and make my way over to England.
Right?
And have a couple more hugs.
Stow away on a steamer.
Something like that. Hank wants to go on a fishing boat, don't you? Yeah.
I'm definitely coming next year, guys. We tried and I was desperate, Karen, to get to the conference this year, and it was about 2 or 3 weeks ago. Me and Zack were just chatting. I said, I'm trying to do him. I still weren't that well, to be fair. So I decided, and the reason, the real reason is I didn't want to go all that way, go to the conference, come home, and not meet Walt and Josh. Do you know what I mean? It would have just not made any freaking sense in the world to me. Do you know what I mean? So I've decided that, yeah, definitely next year, mate, I'm taking that hug, Zack, and there's at least 2 more I'll be picking up. So
for anybody that the other side of the pond, if you know what I mean, us with the other side, it's quite a lot of money just for a couple of days, isn't it? Unfortunately, that's the big thing, because if it wasn't for the money, you'd go.
It's best part of $1,000, I think. which is a lot of money, isn't it?
Ouch. Right.
That's a lot of money.
I sort of worked it out. It would be more than that, really. But anyway, sorry, my
I
daughter's
was
come home
planning
again.
on camping with Zack one night in the tent, so there was. But yeah, it's not cheap, and that's what I thought. If you and most of the cost, Karen, this was the point, is the flight. So if you're going to go there, I thought, there's no way I'm spending all that money, and like I say, not seeing the guys because it's not happening. I'm coming. We're going to have a good few nights. Hopefully, who knows? We might even be able to get at least 4 of us to meet up at one point.
Right. That's it.
But it is nice though that like Zack's going. He's a channel. There's authentic intent going. Maybe we're not the biggest channels, but channels are going. People are going. It's really great. Let alone people like Mr. Fry, all the rest. There's millions of them. There's Alex Music Conspiracy. There's Dave Marsh. They're English ones.
Is Dave going again? Cool.
Yeah, he's doing a workshop with Mr. Fry. It's great.
He's a top bloke, is Dave. Nice bloke.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy, Dave.
Yeah. I think it's my round next with Dave.
Yeah, you're not that far from him, are you?
No, but we kept buying pints for each other. There was a bit of a. I know he kept looking to see if I was at the bar and vice versa. I'll get you this one, mate. So I'm pretty sure it's my round next. So I look forward to meeting Dave again. A real gent.
Yeah, and he's a great researcher as well.
Yeah.
So who's coming up on Iron Realm Media? Can you spill the beans or can't you tell us?
We have absolutely nobody planned. I blew my load, so to speak. I'll figure what's left after that.
Right. We have irons out there. We have a few lines out. We have some people we've interacted with. I talked to Rich, Mr. Thrive and Survive, and he and Zack are supposed to put their heads together while they're at the conference, both. And then he should be on the show sometimes after the conference, but we don't really have that date set yet. Just a gentleman's agreement, I guess.
I think
he's great, Mr. Thrive and Survive.
Yeah.
He's a great man.
Rich I'm
hoping to meet him next year.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
It looks like he's coming to the UK, hopefully, and yeah, I'll be meeting him.
I better put a shout out, mate.
Well, if he stays here, which I think he's going to stay at my house, then I've got to have a party while he's here. So anybody in the UK will be welcome.
Shit, I'll have to go to this party, it sounds like.
I live in this place called Thatcham in Berkshire. Berkshire's got, it's sort of like, it almost goes to Heathrow on the M4 corridor. It goes down sort of towards the West Country. The next county is Wiltshire.
That's not too far. I'll wait for the invite.
Cool. I'll have to tell Mr. He'll have to come just for the party. Oh, dear me, yeah. And well, I'm just it's a very big week this week, isn't it? With the conference in America or what is it? A conference or a convention?
I think this conference.
Conference.
I think it was a UK convention, and that FEIC is the conference, as I recall having to type it out so many times. What was I going to say? Oh, we've exchanged emails with Phuket Word, so hopefully we'll get him on somewhere in the near future. I would like to get Brandon Daly back on soon. He is back home from his travels to Central America and Honduras doing.
I want to hear what. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say he's just been down there taking some flat Earth observations. So I know he's putting together a little documentary for his Facebook page called "The Future of Flat Earth."
Josh, I can confirm, because I did say a quick hello on the live link up when we was down in London, the link to Dublin, and I did get to say hello to him. So he is alive, and he did confirm he's back in the States. So
excellent.
He made it through the quite a brave trip, weren't it? Really, he went on. So
I'm telling you, he really took his life into his hands. He literally traveled to the murder capital of a plane and just put himself out there. He was traveling, visiting orphanages, talking to MS-13 gang members. I mean, he and his little crew that he took down there, they spent several weeks, I think, down there, just spreading flat earth, just talking flat earth to anybody willing to listen. We had him on a few times to report in. That's why I really want to have him back on so that we can hear straight from the horse's mouth exactly how it all went and what his observations were, how they were observed. This is going to be a hard way to vocabulate without saying experiment.
you shit
Yeah.
it, don't you? You shit it here and there, Karen. You know, because of Nathan Oakley, yeah, and Quantum Eraser. We're all checking our vocabulary now when we make these statements of truth as to qualify them, whether they are scientific, observational, experiments, tests. It's
Yeah, everybody used to wade in, didn't they, with everything, with what they thought, and now everybody's just standing back a bit and covering themselves. It's best to, I think, isn't it? You know, we were you know what we started off as, a square flat Earth group and a research group. We still are a research group as well, but we've gone more towards the people. And I think it's nice when you have new people on. Like, we're meeting someone on Saturday, FE Brothers, another channel. So, yeah, it's always great. And we've got an extra one tomorrow that's just happened today with Martin Kenny and Josh. And that's going to be another Josh. And that's going to be about etymology tomorrow. So
Sweet.
it's great. It's always
Well,
great.
give the Flat Earth Brothers a big shout out from IRM.
Yeah.
They're always putting out some great stuff.
Yes, they are.
I will. I'll put that down in my little book. I've got a book.
In fact, can you just book them as a guest for us, Karen? Is that all right? Because
It's 10:30 GMT every Friday.
What, you'd like me to tell FE Brothers that you'd like him to come on to your channel?
Yeah, I think that'd be great. They're awesome.
Well, we just appreciate by telling them how much we appreciate the good work they do. We can send them an email. We can contact them and book them ourselves. Just make sure you let them know we appreciate what they're doing.
Yeah, I like his videos.
We're not that desperate. Actually, this Friday, last week, we were supposed to unveil a bit more clarity on the work that Zack's been doing with regards to Rayleigh's criterion. And I don't know if you're still there, Zack. You're probably better off doing it. You saw my penchant for slides, Karen, earlier.
Eye, or any lens with a circular pupil, aperture, whatever you want to call it, a little hole that lets the light in. And the way physics works with lenses is the smaller that hole is, the more is going to be obscured along your horizon. And this is what makes things like boats disappear from the bottom up and buildings disappear from the bottom up. It's got nothing to do with the curve. And we can actually prove this mathematically. I wrote an equation, and it'll give you the minimum that will be cut off, because when you start adding in the atmosphere, it can only get bigger. But a guy figured out this a long time ago, how to do the whole limitation of the eye, or any lens with a circular aperture. And then I kind of just added in a couple more equations to make it to where you can do it at any distance, from any height, looking through any size aperture, at any certain color. If that makes any sense. Yeah, it's pretty much an Earth curve calculator over a flat plane. It'll show you how much will be cut off.
You're a freaking genius.
The minimum.
Zack, we can apply this to the Jay Tolan stuff, can't we? We can just change the lambda function.
Absolutely.
And it should be applicable to the Jay Tolan stuff. You're a genius, dude. I like that any color. Clever, mate. I love it.
So you added your little part in there. There's the Meakin.
That's bollocks.
For sure.
Yeah. That was just being geeky. And like I say, there's no significant difference to the number. It just makes it mathematically correct. But the concept, mate, wicked. And like I say, that is awesome. It's exactly applicable. Be interesting, won't it, to try varying that wavelength to the infrared and seeing what it does and what the outcome is.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, Karen, we've gone off on one.
The color that you'll see furthest away.
That's okay. Carry
Do
on.
you understand what we're rambling on about there? Does that make, because rather than as ramble, does that make sense what we just said?
Yeah, I was wondering whether Zack needs to talk to Chris UK. Don't
Go
forget,
ahead.
Chris has got his experiment about wanting to, so all of us with some kind of small amount of equipment, hopefully that we can make at home, can work out how far away the stars are to prove it for the once and for all that we're not on a ball that way.
Well, shout out Chris to get in contact with us. Josh, where can we get in contact?
I've got Chris UK's email.
You send it us, Karen, and I'll give him a shout. But if he's listening to the show, contact us at ironrealmmedia@gmail.com.
Yeah, I don't think he's been in the chat room today, but I'll give you his email. And I think what it was is he started off on one bit, but it's led to other experiments now. So he's probably got, I think he's got 2 or 3 or whatever it is, 4 on the go now. That's what happens in flat Earth, isn't it? It never stays in one little bit. There's masses of it.
Well, there's bits and there's bits people like now. I don't know what you're on about, but there's bits of people doing amazing stuff that you've never even heard about, and they've not just done one bit, but loads of bits. So it's great to hear.
Yeah,
send it us, and I'll email him. Give him a shout.
That's really good news. Yeah, we're all trying here to help each other as well, aren't we?
Totally.
Yeah, I've been out of the loop for about 3.5, 4 months now, with no reliable internet or anything like that, and I feel like it's been like 3 or 4 years. All the stuff that I've missed.
Oh yeah, because you were in our chat room a lot more than like. Yeah, I must have been. I haven't seen you so much lately.
Yeah, being out here on the road, I really have to conserve my data, and there are no Wi-Fi spots at the free places that I've been staying.
You can tell if you're in a decent Wi-Fi zone, Zack, because if you're watching flat Earth content, you pop up instantly. Whenever you've got Wi-Fi, you're there in chat. I've noticed whatever's going on.
Oh, yeah.
He's in a Wi-Fi zone.
Yeah, if you see me in chat, it means I got a good spot.
Yeah.
And I was just looking, it looks like Brandon Daly has launched the future of flatearth.com. So you can head on over there and check out some of the stuff they got going on. They do have episode 3 of their little docu-series they got going on, which did include his trips to Honduras. So you can head on over there and check out that episode. I've not even seen it yet, so I'm looking forward to getting a chance to watch it.
You do have nice radio voices, guys.
Well, thank you.
Times you know you're not being spoken to.
Sorry, what did you say, Adam?
What? I missed it.
Times you know you're not being spoken to.
Oh, Adam, I included you.
No, that was more personal. A bit of self-deprecation there, Karen.
I was upstairs cooking dinner listening to Adam before I came down and got on. And I was thinking to myself just how good you sounded. Your mic was sounding crystal clear, and your voice was awesome. You were nailing it. You were really rocking it, Adam. So you were definitely included in that.
And see, this morning on Nathan's channel, I thought the same thing, that you sounded really crisp. That mic you've got is nailing it. So see, yeah, you got it, sir. You have it, sir. You have it.
Love you lot. Funny.
No fear in the chat rooms. Put what time does it start tomorrow? Was something that what time does it start tomorrow? I think that's for you lot.
I'm not sure what on Wednesday they're referring to.
Maybe he's answering something in the chat room. I
Maybe
thought
so. Nathan's
Sorry.
daily on, and Adam tends to hang out there quite a bit, but we're not going to be back on until Friday morning or Friday afternoon for us, but that's morning and night for you.
That carrot, I think, was about Martin and Josh coming on. What time does that start?
That would be awesome. I want to check that out. I love etymology, and I love Martin and Tom.
Oh, I see. Sorry.
No Fear, I think, was just asking when that particular thing was going.
Thank you. Yeah, Martin and Josh are coming on for 9 p.m. It was really nice, actually, because this guy is really good at his etymology, just very refreshing. And obviously, Martin Kenny's amazing. And then we did mention it, but most people, you know, they're busy or whatever. And Martin Kenny asked me today, so I thought that was brilliant.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think Josh is this other Josh. He's around till the weekend, and of course we have other hangouts planned, but I don't tomorrow, and they're coming on tomorrow. So, yeah,
perfect. That worked out well.
Now, I have a propensity to be a bit of a thickie, and I do know what etymology means, but that's quite a broad scope.
Okay, we're looking. I think we're going to be doing words, breaking words down to realise what we're really saying.
In relation to any specific topic was what I was meaning, rather than
any word. They have meanings.
So, in a bigger synchronistic sort of viewpoint, rather than
yes,
rather than I didn't know if it was relating specifically to any of Martin's work with him being on, in terms of the etymology of some of the stuff that he's looking at, as opposed to just. Well,
I think what happened was everybody wants him to talk about the cosmic egg and all that kind of stuff, that part of it, but he also likes, you know, talking about spiritual things, other things. And then Josh, just his friend was there holding the camera for him, and then he started talking, and then of course we just went, wow, I'd like to hear more from Josh. So it's happening tomorrow.
I still miss what time?
9 p.m. I'm just doing a little trailer, but obviously my computer's on the go slow and it's uploading at the moment, and the Hangout won't help because it takes so much of the bandwidth. But I've got a little trailer which I shall be putting on Sun and Moon later on.
Did you do our trailer, Karen?
Yes.
You rock, mate. You rock. That was wicked.
You like that?
Oh, it was so cool. You covered everybody. I was sat there building I was decorating my boy's bedroom. I was building his bed, and I put it on. I just thought that was really, really lovely. Everybody was covered, and I thought it was a nice little soundbite for everybody. I thought it was really nice, thought out and cool. Thank you. Yeah,
I'm pleased you liked it.
Yeah. That was brilliant. Thanks.
Yeah, sometimes those little videos, they take hours to make. Suddenly the music will jump, or you suddenly think you forget that you were actually speaking and recording it, and then you just want the computer, and suddenly you're sitting there and you can hear yourself going da 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 on, you know, whatever. I've got to do it again. And sometimes they take hours, but I like doing that. I've got, you know, it's me trying to explain a little bit about who's coming on the channel.
It's the same with me and my windows, mate. You know, the backdrops we have on the Friday show. I love creating them. There's a little level of addiction going off there in terms of making. So I mean, it's part of the. You need to let your creative side out, don't you? This is quite consuming, flat Earth, and it's nice sometimes.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And so for me, like doing the backdrops like you there, I mean, honestly, I thought that thing, every person you took a little soundbite of, and you bothered, you could see the art in what you'd done. You bothered to think about what you was doing, and I thought it was lovely, mate, honestly.
Oh, I'm glad you liked it. That's the main thing.
Yeah. We had another thing. It's rare you get that sort of shit, isn't it? You know, most of the time we're retards, we're flat-tards, etc. And even if it's from the own community, stuff that shows just a little bit of appreciation that you're not just, you know, whatever we're accused of. goes a long way. And we had something we played in and out of on Friday, Flat Earth Audio. So shout out to Flat Earth Audio person. I think he's in Austria. In Austria. But he bothered to take some of the poetry that, if you see on our screen, some of that Walt had wrote, and he wrote as a intro, outro music. And then I don't know who sung those words of Walt's poetry. Have we got it, Josh? Can we play it? Would you like to hear it, Karen?
Yeah, go on then.
It's honestly, it's really, and like I say, it's these things that, like, sometimes when you can't be asked, you know, you think they pick you up, don't they? Just the odd comment, because you can ignore the insults, they bounce off, don't they? But seeing the nice comments, and not so much that, but actually when somebody's got off their arse and for no apparent reason done something really lovely, it inspires you to,
Touches you.
yeah, I've done it.
Absolutely.
I'm not mad, I'm part of something.
That's it. Yeah, we're not mad. We're part of something. It's very well put. Oh, is he playing it?
So, Walter, how does it feel to have your words put to music like that? That's got to be cool as hell.
Oh, that's really nice.
It really does. Yeah, it's very lovely. It gives me chills every time I listen to it. It truly does. So thank you very much, so much. And that was Ranty who connected us to. So shout out to Ranty for that as well.
Yeah, how often do you listen to yourself?
Right, never.
I avoid it at all costs. To the point that I don't do the editing that I should, mainly for that reason. That's one of the main reasons I don't ever sit down and buckle down, because I know I'm going to have to sit through my silly ass talking. And I can't necessarily exclude me, because that'll be a little obvious. So now I've got to sit down and choose my own words to sort of include in this editing. And that's just a bit beyond me as well. So I just don't do it, unfortunately.
Anyway, it's also nice to show that other part of yourself. You know, in a sense, we're in a subject that's very serious, aren't we? And so to have the softer or different sides of things, it's good sometimes.
We're lucky, Karen, in that I think I agree. I'm very similar to Walt and Josh there, and I don't think Zack listens back to anything. But John Savage, who, you know, the other member, he's got a memory like a goldfish, right? So you'll have a conversation with him that night. I speak to him the next day. There'll be nothing there. So literally, he records everything with us. He'll listen back to it the next day. And if he doesn't listen back to it, honestly, it's genuinely not there. You think he's taking the piss, but it isn't there, is it, guys? Unless he's bothered to, he'll take the dog out for a walk and play it back to himself. Yeah. So it's also quite handy having
Mind you,
somebody that
sometimes
does
though, you
review
talk,
it.
you don't realise how much information you're saying or is coming out on a hangout.
Yeah.
Only when I go to do the trailers and I sit down, I think sometimes it's really hard to like. I need the trailer about 10, 15 minutes long.
Right.
It's just
Right.
so much information. You think you hear it sometimes on a hangout. It's when you play it back, you think, wow, look what we talked about again. It is a good way of refreshing, though.
Early on, I attempted to take some of those 4 and 5 hour shows and condense them down and add some nice pictures. And I began to realize that I would spend every waking minute of my life doing that. Because number one, I'm a perfectionist about things like that. And then just so much to choose from. And, oh, I feel like I left this out. And wait, I forgot that part. And, oh, I need to put this if I'm going to put that. And, yeah.
The one thing I've learned, even though I didn't allow it there, from Josh is the master of the pregnant pause, Karen. He'll kill you with it sometimes. And the thing about editing and YouTube, you know what? This is YouTube and this is people interacting. And I think if you were to edit it, it removes the genuineness of what if it is a 4 or 5 hour, it's 4 or 5 hours because it's bloody good stuff of people engaging. And you know what? If you see that, you shouldn't be scared by 4 or 5 hours. You think, shit, why the hell are people talking for that long? There must be something going off. Not, oh, I can't digest that. I'm used to adverts every 7.5 minutes, and that's not how my brain is told to work.
Like puppies?
Yeah. I like 3 minutes of the information that makes me feel clever, not makes me think. Yeah. And that's what people are used to. Give me something that means I can walk away from watching that 3 minutes and sound like I'm more intelligent to somebody else. And actually, when you listen to a lot of the flat earth, long rambling stuff, it's stuff that you leave thinking about stuff, not able to go and pretend you're dead clever to someone.
But
sorry, I'm on a rant.
That's what
sometimes though, I understand what Walt's talking about, or Josh. You know, sometimes it's good just to try and get those 5-10 minutes, they're little videos. People sometimes can only watch for a certain amount of time, so it is good sometimes. But then you think, well, where do I start and where do I finish?
Yeah. And when those big 4 or 5 hour conversations, there's lots of good sound bites. I mean, there's all sorts of good stuff that you could probably package it and wrap it up nice and neatly for those people with the 3-minute attention spans. But again, it's
a true seeker style,
right? But it's just so time consuming, and especially when you're doing, 3 shows a week and it's borderline 8 hours every week that you'd have to sit through and edit out and pick through. I mean,
yes, Josh, I know. Josh, I know what you're talking about.
But once again, it's meeting the demand of the TV dinner generation. Please provide my information in the format that allows me to not really deal with it, not really think about it.
That's the other part about this is if you make it too much of a glossed product, then it becomes that hum in the background that just kind of washes over them, and it never hooks anywhere into their brain enough to make them do their own research. Because as we all know, you can sit and listen to shows all day and hear people talk about this crap all day long until you see it and it makes that aha thing happen for you. It's still just words,
Test it.
I don't know for you lot, but for me, like when I'm making my little sort of trailers, it even refreshes me, and I think I get to know what you're about a bit, if that makes sense, more by doing this, because sometimes I have to listen to it again, little videos again and again.
Well, you may inspire me to dig back in. Then I'll see what I can do with that, Karen, for sure.
It is
editing.
Yeah, it's amazing how a different take you can come away with it, just having sat through and going through and editing and listening to each individual piece and repeating everything. And I mean, you really do pick out things and hear things that you missed the first time, and it totally sort of gets a whole different vibe. That's why when Walt says he has a hard time editing too, because it really is a creative process. You may have this huge, awesome vision of what you want to create in your brain, but as soon as you start that process and you start picking out these little nuggets that you missed the first time, pretty soon your vision changes. And your vision changes 6, 7, 8, 10 times through an editing process. You're 12 hours deep, and you just say, F it, I'm done. I'm not going to do this at all.
I think the thing that we have to remember, all of us with these platforms, is we still remain humble. And you remember that, then I just think that really helps. We're all humble with each other.
I think that's one of those things that's missing in nearly every aspect of life, is a person's humility. But again, it's one of those things that's taught at a very early age that you're not supposed to have. You are special. You can do anything you want.
We've got to learn to start treating people as you wish to be treated.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And it's pretty obvious how most people want to be treated then, isn't it? But treat people as you wish to be treated.
Oh, Josh, you weren't here for the beginning of the show. I got to give away 3 hats today.
That is so awesome.
Yeah.
Also, just put the video out.
They even let me record it. I'm going to upload the video as soon as this is over.
That's badass.
Yeah. And then actually, when I was telling them about it here on the show today, I got another, so I get to give out another hat tomorrow.
I'm telling you, you're going to have to hire somebody just to sort orders and knit hats, because you're going to soon run out of your backup and you have none to sell.
Yeah, I can do about 3 every 2 days. Takes about 4.5 to 5 hours to make one. Like, I can get about 3 done every 2 days, and I'd be ecstatic if I could give out 7 or 8 hats a week. That'd be awesome.
Telling you, you just need to hire some little kids with small, nimble fingers to do all that.
It's going to be like, like 30, 40 years' time, there'll be the tales of the hat man that go across Central America. The man that used to give out hats.
Yeah,
The hat man.
and saved people.
Yeah. The flat hat man.
Oh, yeah, they say, oh, hey. Yeah, this is where I'll tell them too. But all the people that are up at the van build, they're coming here after. The guys down there were part of it. Yeah, and they said everybody, so there's going to be 100 people here after the 23rd. Yeah, no doubt. All right, man, I'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, so there's going to be all kinds of people here to flat snack. I can't wait.
That's
Give out.
Awesome.
I let the guys know today that I was one of those crazy flat earthers. So I'm telling them my YouTube channel and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You're not crazy.
I know a flat earth lady. She's going to that conference in Denver and this and that. And
Don't you say that with pride now, Karen?
well, I think she's even mentioned your name before.
Yes.
Get out of here.
That's awesome.
Sorry, we're not
And the other guy,
crazy.
he's going to be a
No,
little
but-
hard to turn, but I'll be able to do it.
Listen, I think
Everybody
telling
has the
people
right to
that
have their own beliefs. And I didn't want to tell them. I was like, I don't believe in anything, man. I know the earth isn't a spinning ball.
Zach,
But
hold on just a
Go
second.
ahead.
You're about to get a good stern talking to you. Go ahead, Karen. I needed to interrupt.
Oh,
Zach.
I wasn't going to give that. I was just, it's adding actually to just what Zack said. You know, what's more stupid, telling people that we're traveling, what is it, 3 different directions, one anti-clockwise with the moon, going 0 at the poles, but 1,000 miles at the equator, doing Mach 80. That is stupid.
exactly.
How stupid is that?
So yeah, he was saying how everybody has a right to have their own beliefs and this and that. And I think, well, mine aren't exactly beliefs. I'm kind of
We all believed it once, didn't we, though? Because we were told that's what it was, but they lied.
But Karen, if you assume that that's happening, I can show you the mathematics that will support it. So just believe it. Let me.
I
And don't
can't.
step. Oh no! Unfortunately, you've stepped out of that. You know what I mean. But that's the reality of where it is. That's the reality of what we left behind. Do you
My
know what I
thing,
mean?
it's a bit like there's the television screen. Everybody's looking at the television screen, but for some reason, some of us see behind the screen and see it differently now and see the workings differently. A lot of people just don't see it, but some of us do.
The Wizard of Oz.
Mm.
You look behind the screen,
Yeah.
and there's the little man, the tiny little pathetic man, controlling it all.
I've
That's
always
the
compared
purpose
it to
of
those 3D posters they used to sell at like the shopping malls. You'd have to get real close and sort of look through it. Then all of a sudden, this 3D form would sort of pop out of the nonsense. And I think there was a movie, Mallrat. There was a character who just spent his whole time staring, trying to find this object, and he just couldn't find it. And some people just can't see it. Other people can walk right up and boom, they get it. Oh yeah, there it is. It's a boat. It's a tree.
See those? I can't see them at all. I never have been able to.
I think the most stupid thing is this thing about we're moving because we're not moving.
Well, hopefully that presentation tonight, Karen, demonstrated that if we were moving at the equator, there would be a 1.596 reduction in the force of gravity at the equator, which would be measurable. And most importantly, since Newton, demonstrable. And yet, as far as I'm aware, nothing has demonstrated the mathematics that I've showed you there. Now, that doesn't mean my mathematics is wrong. The mathematics is exactly correct for the model. So if the mathematics doesn't represent reality, the only conclusion you can draw is that the model on which the mathematics is based is incorrect.
But the thing is, any documents that come out that NASA release, if you just put the word flat Earth in it, it comes up all over the documents. So they had a flat plane, then they turn it into this ball through their mathematics.
I think it's deeper than that. I think the way in which the coordinate system is built upon an assumption of a globe, as Nathan would allude to. Now, if you build a construct with the assumption that the construct is a globe, that's the way you'll plot it. And when we see the azimuthal equidistant standard flat Earth map, it's that globular data that is then retranslated into a flat projection, which is why it's wrong, which is why you started out saying it's wrong. Let's look at other alternatives, which is the way we do. But for me, unfortunately, it does mean that the way you have to, it means you've got to start again with like many things, because if the input of the data is built upon a false construct, we have to start re-inputting the data. Now, the trouble is backwarting that data into a usable form to give you an assumption of raw data is a nigh impossibility, as some of the early stuff you did shows, because it's false data and you can't work with false data. So the sad reality for me is we've got to start again. And not.
But then we're lucky to have people like Stan Smith, Dave Marsh, the rest. There's David James, who's on Facebook. He's a massive photographer. We've got our Robert Forsh all showing us the truth.
Well, look at Stan's work. Look at Stan's work, how it is giving greater understanding to the simple statement that the observations in the heavens have no resemblance to the shape of the Earth, or very little, and certainly not the inference that the heliocentric model would try to draw. And these are all the great things that we're doing in all our little disparate groups that eventually will come together. But it might be a while. But that shouldn't disparage us from.
Yeah, that's just
carrying
because
on.
the people are doing it, and the people
Yeah.
don't have much money. And we need
Look
a
at
lot
the
more
alternative
money.
energy stuff. It's awesome, man. We're doing so much work in so many fields, Karen,
Yeah.
and one day it'll come together. Do you know what I mean? Look at Iron Realm and you. We're similar, but we're not similar, are we? Look at what you do. You bring a completely different community vibe that you bring so many more bodies in, but we're all doing different things. We're a bit more geeky. That's probably my fault. Do you know what I mean? but
we
we're all
can't all
doing.
be doing the same thing.
But one day, in
we
10
bring our
years'
bit.
time, we'll look back on this, won't we? We'll look back on this and we'll say, shit, man, look at what I was doing. Look at what we've achieved, hopefully.
We
Yeah.
were a part of that. Yeah.
Yeah. And that stupid little thing that I didn't give up on, look what it yielded. And all the things that all of us do in the community that we all unfortunately receive ridicule for. It's times, like I said, when you receive videos like what we played earlier and when you do that lovely intro about us, that mean, you know what, bollocks to the ridicule. We'll carry on and we'll see where it is in 10 years. And fingers crossed, there's enough crazy bastards out there like me that will achieve something.
Yeah, and I have to say that the ridicule, some of it comes from inside the family. They're the worst ones.
Yeah, unfortunately. Well, go to Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner, and is there not ever a fight? I mean, a family does that.
To really wake up, though, we have to stop this fighting and arguing and all this stupidness and ego. It's got to stop. That's the only way forward I can see. And
Ego's the key, Karen. You
Yeah,
hit the nail on the head there.
That's it.
And we're left with communicating with each other, aren't we? And hopefully the spider web of flat earthers just gets bigger and bigger, and the network of flat earth gets bigger and bigger. And I think that's happening. Even when I joined, there's hundreds more channels since we've come along. And everybody even if they're trying to sort of keep us in the back bit.
The children are getting educated about this as well. That's what I love.
I mean, it's really strange, don't you think? If this is one of the
saying, if you believe in the flat earth, then this is not a class for you.
I was just saying, don't you think it's really strange that someone's just got a cough and they get 1 million views? And flat earth's one of these bigger subjects where people are joining daily, and yet they've done something to the algorithm, and like you say, you go there and you think our chat room suddenly go, Karen, all the likes have gone.
Right.
What's all that?
I think it would be naive to think that after the statement that we heard from YouTube, was it in the Senate or congressional, whatever thing it was, but it was a clear statement that they are manipulating with all sorts of demographic data and the way in which it used to be a view-based recommendation, and how they're now validating that. Now, the sad thing is that of all the topics they could have chose to highlight, they actually chose flat earth, which is a great compliment as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, but isn't it annoying though? They weren't nicer, because in a sense, this is where flat earth is. So they could have copped in on it more. They can't, can they? Because they're part of Google Maps. And
look, I think we were talking with Mark Devlin, Karen, about the system and flat earth being a psyop. And whilst I don't think it's a psyop because it's true in the honest definition of the term psyop, I think unfortunately the system, no matter what, whether it's truth or falsehood, whenever anything is, and we were talking in terms of the music industry, the hippie scene, the dance scene in the 80s, etc. But whatever becomes popular culture, the system itself will try to adopt. So I think we're at the stage at the moment where the system hasn't adopted flat earth, and it's still very much honestly run. It's not been. There might be the odd troll here and there, the odd kind of aggravatory account, but I think for the main part, most of it is honest people. Whether they agree, as you said earlier, is a different matter. But yeah, so I forgot my train of thought, to be fair.
Can you remember it?
Probably not, if I'm being honest.
I was giving him time to catch it.
Probably. I don't even try. If you try, it makes it worse, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's even worse when you're live, isn't it?
Yeah. Give up on that and move on, and then it might pop back in. But I'm doing a right Walt ramble tonight. I'm sorry. I'm on a rant roll.
No, that's good. That's good. Josh and I are pretty tired, probably, or at least I know I am.
Yeah. Well, we have been going. The hangout itself's been going for nearly 3 hours. We could sort of wind down now if you wanted to, guys.
Yeah, I'm off to bed.
Can we say goodbye off air and say goodbye on air together, and then off air we'll say goodbye to each other off air. It's been a really great hangout. It's really nice having you guys on, and have a really nice time the next few days, Zack.
Oh, I will. I definitely will. I'll be making lots of videos. Even if I can't live stream, I'm going to be recording all kinds of stuff.
Is there anything, like, obviously we've got Walt, Josh, Zack, and Patricia's going to be quiet, I think, and we've got Adam. Is there anything that you'd like to say to, at the end of this hangout, guys?
Just thank you so much, Karen, for having me on, having all of us on.
Well, it's nice to meet you, because you've been part of our chat room.
Yeah, I used to be a real active part until I started doing the nomad life. But I love your show. I love all the people you have on.
Yeah, it's nice to
do a great service for the community.
Oh, we're all doing our bit, aren't we? And it's nice to meet you, Zack.
Yeah, you too, Karen. We'll have to do this again. Sure.
Cool.
And absolutely, Karen, it will not be a year. My goodness, before
no, it wasn't. I think it was about January, February, or something like that. As I'm around media.
Well, that's still too damn long. So that's out of the question. Yeah, we'll have to make this at least a monthly thing. Thank you. I love you so much and love everything you've done. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's love back to you guys as well.
I'm going to ask Kent Honvid. You know how he worked out that the 7 days of creation equated to so many years? I'm going to see if we can get a similar formula for flat Earth years, because really, is that all it was? It's a great life.
Time does fly, though, doesn't it? It's gone really fast this year already. Like, I can't believe that we're looking at Christmas again. It seems to have gone really quickly this time, but yeah, and it's good to see you doing other stuff as well, Adam. With Roxanne and.
Well, it's been good fun. It was good fun meeting up with them guys, and I think the good thing that come out of it for me is the plans for next year. You say Christmas is coming, but we've made those contacts, we've built that trust, and I think between us all, next year's tour will be not just from me in Nottingham. I think the things that I can't doubt for 1 minute that have been built on this tour as the tour goes around next year, that it won't just be me trying to make a little bit more of an effort for when they hit Nottingham and other bits and bobs, that actually we really start to shout out loud and show our voice to the country even more, and that maybe a few more people that are woken up over this next year come down and support and are shown that actually if you go down there might be the odd knobhead that just wants to shout his religious zealotry at you, but actually from what I saw from the tour, the majority of the British public didn't surprise me. They're educated, unbigoted people, who are open-minded enough to, when they meet somebody face to face, giving them a fair hearing. And when given so, I think Flat Earth is stands more than enough on its own. And I think if we as a community can really start to support the amazing work that the guys did on the last tour with more bodies and more presence, I think the small amount of impact it's had this year will be exponential, almost at a rate of 8 inches per mile squared. An exponential squared function this growth could be, but that requires the community.
Yeah,
But it's got good
and
foundations.
people being able to be a bit more open about being flat earthers. Mm.
Mate, I have no, we said this earlier, I've got no embarrassment. I revel in saying to people, I'm a flat earther. Yeah, whether I say I'm a crazy flat earther, tinfoil hatter, whatever, in the old days, you know what I mean? I revel in that. I revel in engaging with people in that, because I stand there knowing that I'm not winding people up. I'm not talking shit. I'm telling them how I honestly and truthfully see it. And I think the world we've been built into with PC political correctness has shied us all away from speaking honestly. And actually, when I stood there with Roxanne and Jason and Harry, there was a level of confidence, and I urge people, you know what, it ain't as scary as it looked. And
Love.
yeah,
It is.
yeah, I've had too much wine. I'll stop it. It was good fun. It was really good when I went there. It was great.
Yeah, and you've got these things that are there in your mind now. You know, they're there in your history, in your consciousness, and so forth. It's great.
It's on bloody YouTube, mate. It's there for my grandkids to watch me wandering around with my bad hair.
Granddad used to do.
Yeah, look at Granddad.
That's what Granddad still does.
Yeah, see, this was in the days when people used to think that the world was round. Oh, they daft. But have a look anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Adam, so much for that. Josh, do you want to say anything? Then you haven't said anything on the way out.
I just wanted to reiterate about the humbleness and humility, especially when what we need is more people out there sort of being more vocal about them knowing that they're no longer on this spinny ball, right? So it's that humility that is also required when discussing this, because if you're letting that ego take charge, people are going to tune out almost instantaneously. So just remember to everybody's on their own path, so you have to be able to meet the person you're talking to where they are. You can't just beat them over the head with it, because that's not likely to work that well.
Yeah, I must admit, I think I'd be like, I don't think I have that thing that Roxanne has or John Smith about. I think I prefer talking to people who've woken up. Myself, I think you have to have a very good patience if people are coming at you and attacking almost.
And it's probably just like, you know, getting in a fight. It's the first time is always the hardest, but you know, once you realize you're not made of glass, that you can actually get out there and stand toe to toe, whether it's, you know, physically or verbally with a baller believer, you'll be all right. At the end of the day, things are going to be all right, whether you convert them or not. It's all just conversation. Hopefully it doesn't get a physical confrontation, but you know, they get awfully angry.
G flat smack then, Josh.
I do. Well, see, I just recently started a new job, so I've got 60 people out there who have no idea that I'm a flat earther. I've been there for about 6 weeks, and I think I might have told one person, but so far I've really kept it under wraps. Nobody knows. And that's, again, a conscious decision, because there's, I don't know, reading the room. It's just one of those things where I think they probably need to get to know me a little bit better before I let
Yeah,
loose
it's a
with
bit
some
weird,
flatter
isn't
stuff.
it? Because you think, hey, look, this is what I do, and then play them one of your episodes.
Well, that's really been the way that I've been most successful in real life, is just with people that know me and know that I'm not just sort of a unreasonable person. So if I've come to a point where I don't think that the earth is a sphere, that I didn't come to it lightly. So usually that's enough. If I'm saying it, it's enough to make the people that know me listen. So I was just taking that and giving them a chance to get to know me a little bit in hopes that it might garner a bit more attention later down the road.
Thanks for that, Josh. Well, can I say again, thank you, Walt. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Zack. Patricia. Thank you, Adam. Is that everybody? Oh, and thank you, Roxanne. And thank you, chat room. And yeah, we are on extra tomorrow. We've got Martin Kenny and another Josh tomorrow. Thank you very much, guys. To my panel. To the chat room. See you tomorrow. Thank you, guys.